Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Coin Poker's Cash Game World Championship. We're back, and we're nearing the halfway point through the challenge. This is day 14. I'm your host, Johan Merlo. It's good to be back for another day of action, and we are joined once more by Mr. Floody Mary. What's up?
Hey, Johan, what's up? Good to be here.
Yeah, all good, all good. Excited to see Linus back in action, and he did go on a little bit of an upswing in the last 2 days. I guess we can go straight over it here with the leaderboards. And also, actually, wait, let's start with the top here. A lot of players are downswinging. The top three all lost a bunch of monies, with Davy losing 31K. At some point, it was starting to feel like Davy was just going to win $1 million and he was unstoppable. But then we forgot how variance works and that those win rates, sometimes are not sustainable. So now he's back at 200K with a 14.05 BB per 100, which is still very good. But any thoughts here on the top of the leaderboard?
Still doing pretty well, the Davy. But yeah, it's really cool to see Linus being back. Last time when I joined, when we saw each other, the tables were a little bit dead and games were running slow. And glad this is not the case today. We're gonna have a lot of fun. I see some guys playing a ton of volume, really.
Yeah, Linus over 2 days, like the last 2 days, he won 6 binds in 1,500 hands. And he's not at the bottom of the leaderboard anymore. Now it's Rigged, who, despite being down 19 binds in EV, is only down 8 binds in actual results.
And Marinelli as well. I love every Lavinia.
Yeah.
It's down 20 binds roughly. Yeah. Ouch.
Then Joe Adams did lose a little more, but also maybe on the run good side of things, actually not really losing that much, less than an actual bind, aside from EV.
Mm-hmm.
Barack, unfortunately, lost around 5 binds in EV.
Mm-hmm.
And then, so that was Avrora.
Mm-hmm.
And he played 678 hands and unfortunately lost about 4 binds. So not a
His
very...
name is Firefly. Okay.
Sorry?
It's the Firefly?
Yeah, thing? It is, yeah. He was streaming yesterday and like commentating in Russian at the same time, and he lost a big hand. He lost a very big hand at the end. That was kind of crazy, where I don't remember if that was the exact one, but I think he might have had aces, and then Davy made top 2. And Davy made a monster jam on the river, and he called incorrectly. It's like every draw is missed. Yeah, kind of what. Yeah, scroll up a bit. Decky won a bind, so only down 3 binds in EV now. Dunkaroos, maybe igniting the comeback as well. Yeah, 5 binds. Who else do we have with any major swings? Yeah, this is like 2-3 binds territory. Jason Gale actually going on a quad the downswing here. Minus 87K. Well, that's in 2 days, right? Not 1 day, since yesterday's update was skipped. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's like the 3rd worst day that anybody has had.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. No one likes to lose 9 binds in a day.
Yes. Yeah. Mr. Lumberjack, 6 binds. Derp, 6 binds. Look at this. Anyone beside, like right under the top 3, they have the pretty good 2 days, especially, oh my God, Limitless. 107K. So he was near break even, and then like the last 2 days just completely cooked. Only 1,200 hands, but I guess he's winning a buy-in every 100 hands. Must be nice.
That's a nice average. Yeah.
That's why.
There's still 10 more days to go, right? So, yeah.
14 more. It's 28 days total.
14 more, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, so there's still plenty of time. Anything could happen, it feels like. But yeah, nice to see like all these guys upswinging there. And we got Podbet Cat as well, winning a little bit. Currently in 5th position. And Llama, top 4 right now. Yeah, the race is definitely still feels very open at the top.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine if Linus wins this whole thing. What a story it would be. It's just like on the bottom for days and then just grind his way back up.
It's definitely possible. If some guys make 10 binds in a day, you can definitely make 20 in 14 days, I guess. So, I mean, he would need more than 20, I suppose, to win it. But
And what's up, Jose Rivas in the chat? Hello. Welcome, sir. Okay, so there's, from what I can see, 2 show tables out of the 6 tables running. So these are the ones we're going to focus on.
mm-hmm.
And I think there may be more players trying to play as well, because every table has at least 1 waiting. Some of them have 2 and one of them has 3. So
It's a very sexy lineup here on these 2 show tables.
a lot of the big names. Nice to see Munez back in the mix as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Davy's volume last 2 days, 2.8k hands. So Davy pretty much plays 1k hands a day or rounds. I'm not sure how many days off he's had. So if he plays the whole, 28 days, then he would have 28k hands, and you need 20k hands to qualify.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, 2.4 thousand, you said? 2.8 thousand in 2 days? Something.
Yeah, 2.8, yeah.
Yeah, it's quite significant given the low amount of tables available. So
Kevin did 3.8 in 2 days, but I feel like maybe we should have leaderboards for this. But 3 days ago, he did 5k hands in a day. I don't even know how that's possible. Like that has to be
5K hands in 1 day.
Yeah. Like
Wow.
I have no idea how that can even happen.
Insanity. For tabling, it's insanity, really. We have a 3-bet pot here. Flushy and TaxHere, check raising.
Like if I'm flushy here, I hate when I have ace king and I get check raised on this. I'm like, I know I lose, but how can I fold? I'm just gonna see a jam. Oh my god, he has ace king! Oh no! Not like this. Run it twice. Oh my god, I told you! See, well, to be honest, I was more picturing all the nits at my limits, check raising with a set here. And it feels like you can't get away from ace king because there's all the draws, but...
Yeah, I don't think TaxHere only has sets in this spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looked quite standard. He 3-bet the flop and then gets it in, yeah.
I'll replay it. Why is c-bet so small here for flushy?
Sorry. Way to have the little delay, and I don't...
Yeah, sorry, I was actually not showing. I'll start over. 2.2x, 7 BBs, call. And then he c-bets 372 into 1550. So quarter.
25%? Yeah, that looks the right size on ace-high boards. The goal of these boards, it's not... I don't think he plays a bet here. But you don't need big sizes to make pocket pairs and misses indifferent.
Yeah.
In OP's range. So yeah, going small is the play, I think.
What's the?
But also, you want to keep on betting your all of your middle pairs like kings, queens, jacks, 10x sometimes, etc.
What was the worst hands, so to speak, that's TaxHere is going to be calling with here? Say hands like pocket 8s, pocket 9s have to make a call. I assume. Is that the worst?
Probably not in this formation.
Okay.
Probably not. Even with the diamond, I don't think these hands. It's quite non-intuitive, but you have to make some very big folds even against small bets when you're in these 3-bet pots and tight formations, because you're just really crushed. And if you overcall the flop too much, you get just to check fold way too much on the turn. You don't get to realize equity pretty much with these hands. So I'm not even sure pocket pairs can flat here. I think you're supposed to take some of them, turn them into a bluff, like the lowest ones. If you have like fours, threes, something like that, you take the worst ones.
With the diamonds?
Yeah, probably with the diamond. Yeah, and you turn them into you check raise them as a bluff sometimes.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think eights and nines and should call.
I thought that I've seen in the past some scenarios, or at least like the way it was executed, is that when you get check raised, you don't have many re-raises.
I'm gonna try to sim it on the side real quick. It's not gonna be perfect, but
Yeah.
uh,
But yeah, I thought I've seen that like when you get check raised here, you don't really have too many re-raises. It's like a lot of calls to kind of like keep the bluffs in. But is that like with more nutted hands, or like how does that work? Like how does Slushy then, once he gets check raised here, decides that he's gonna raise this hand specifically?
yeah, it's interesting. It depends on the boards, really. I mean, the boards where you need the most protection, you're gonna have many 3-bets, and then those that are very static, then you just, as you said, keep the bluffs in and just mostly call down. On this one, yeah, you're kind of right. Like this solver apparently doesn't like to 3-bet so much. I mean, if you have to pick one hand, then Ace King is the best because yeah, you just want protection, and you're not super happy, I think, to get it in here. So with Ace King,
It feels like you're just coerced into it by the situation.
Yeah, of course. So you don't 3-bet to fall to a jam, but I don't think you're really happy. You're probably just happier in these games, obviously, than you are at your stakes on GG. But
Yeah.
but
I'm folding.
not extremely exciting either.
I'm calling the check raise and then I'm folding turn.
It's gonna be yeah. It might be the right play, honestly, at L50. The check raising range is some 10x, of course, but sets like 7s and 10s, ace 10, and then a mix of gut shots like queen jack, king queen, king jack, etc. Of course, some occasional low pair bluffs like 8-7, 6-7, stuff like that.
Yeah,
that's why you can 3-bet sometimes, but yeah, once he gets it in, then it's only the highest equity draws, of course. Yeah.
All right, nice little hand here to get us started.
Nice hand.
Catching up on the chat a bit, we had Vishant Pathia say, love it. Who's riggedeck? Can someone please tell me? Riggedeck is I think, Live Pro. I believe that's how he's been mentioned. And he usually plays in games in Macau. That's that's the word that's been going on the street on who riggedeck is. HDP said, wow, the race up top is definitely interesting. I don't remember having many days when I lost 5 binds. Don't know how these guys swing like 10 bind in 1K hands. Must be hell of aggressive day. And definitely would need quite hell of mental strength. Yeah, do you think that there is some of these players, right, that are more aggressive than others and that are more likely to have this happen? But as far as swings go, it's been nothing too insane, right?
I mean, 10 binds in a day, in my opinion, is completely standard if you play somehow tough games and you play like aggressive enough, meaning in a way just strong, good poker. So yeah, 10 binds, I wouldn't call that a downswing for me. It's business as usual.
Yeah.
It's the normal day, in my opinion. Of course, it looks scary because it's $100,000, but it's only 10 binds after all.
Of course.
Yeah.
The amazing Jack said, "Johan too good these days." Oh, because I called the Ace King. Thanks. And Jim Duggan said, "Is Limitless back in action today yet?" So I woke up pretty late today. I kind of pulled a Floaty Mary, and I woke up at like 2 p.m. Actually, no, that's still early. That's still early for you, right?
That's my normal time zone.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So I don't know if he was playing before that, but right now I do not see him at the tables. So hopefully he'll drop in. I mean, considering the run he had, and like he's, where is he exactly? He is 6th in the leaderboard. Like I think it's definitely a good time to keep playing. See if he can ship that Rolly. He might be one of the players that cares the least about the Rolex. By the way, I don't know if you've ever seen photos of this guy, but like he basically only wears tracksuits from Gucci and Dolce Gabbana.
Yeah.
So yeah, a Rolex is probably like a.
It fits. Yeah, it fits the.
Well, it fits, but like he's probably got 30 of them already.
Maybe. HTP is saying, what kind of bankroll do you need if you? I mean, 10 buying swings again, like is absolutely standard in a day. Like if you never swing 10 binds in a day, you're probably doing something wrong, in my opinion. Either you're playing way too careful, or just stakes that are way below your skill level. And even then, I mean, even in very soft games, you can definitely swing 10 binds. So 50 binds, no, is just absolutely not enough for. I mean, of course, it depends on the situation. It depends if you're a professional. It depends if you're taking shots at one stake. But if you're playing one stake like on a daily basis, especially somehow tough games like 50 binds behind is absolutely not enough. Many professionals have 50 buy-in downswings in a month. It's completely standard. So yeah, I would suggest a lot more, a lot more than that in 2025. I mean, of course, it depends what we're talking about. If we're talking about like 1-2 live cash games, then 50 binds is completely fine, of course. Assuming you're in the field.
By the way, do you do coaching?
I do, yeah. I mean, it's not my main activity, but yeah, I do.
How many students do you have?
I just coach for my stable, but by the way, a little shout out to my stable, Nachos Poker, if you guys are interested in leveling up. I do coaching for them, for the students inside the stable, almost only, really. I don't really have anyone on the side at the moment. It's quite rare. So yeah, we have players playing from 50 NL to 2K NL, pretty much.
Yeah, this guy is pretty famous, right? The guy who has the name on the stable. Is it?
Yeah, he played a little bit last year during the first challenge, but didn't go too well.
It's the Dutch guy, right?
Yes, he's Dutch. Yeah.
Oh, so you talk to him often?
Of course, yeah, sure.
Hey, let's get him on the stream. What the hell?
Sure.
How's this guy not been? Can you ask him?
I'll give you his contact.
Yeah.
With pleasure. Of
Okay.
course.
So yeah, to respond to Heyman, who was asking me to go through the leaderboard and tell him what players are behind the more unknown nicknames. Potbet Cat is a Japanese player who seems to play live games in Macau. And he makes a little bit of content. I don't even know what his content is exactly. I would have assumed it'd be poker related, but then I opened his YouTube because he has a Twitter profile. And it was kind of just him talking. So I don't know exactly what it's about. Mr. Lumberjack. Let me have a look. Mr. Lumberjack is Station Steve on ACR. So one of those guys that seems to be well known as well in the high stakes world. Biluzin equals Stefan Burakov. I don't think that's the case. Is it? No, Biluzin is Pedro Toledo.
Yeah.
A Brazilian reg.
Yeah. an ex-colleague of mine and a friend. Yeah.
So, like, what if you were to coach individual students? Then, what stakes would those guys usually be playing? And then, would you, by any chance, be willing to reveal how much you charge?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I always charge the same thing at the moment, which is 100 per hour. Maybe I'll raise at some point, and then maybe it's not a good idea to reveal it right now. But no, I'm just kidding. I don't have any intention of. At some point, I think that it gets a little bit out of control when people start charging like insane amounts for it. I mean, at some point, it's also just 1 hour of your time, and of
Yeah.
course, there's knowledge and years of studying and blah blah blah. But like, let's be realistic. I don't think anyone really deserves $1,000 per hour. I mean, that's the way I see things, at least. So yeah. Of course, no. I mean, the stakes are not really an issue, really. Like, it depends. Like, of course, I see, like, yeah, HGP was saying that stakes are too high for me, but you can get some even CFPs that will get you, that have like some micro stakes groups that will take players that play 25 NL or 20 NL or something like that. The most important part is just how much time do you invest into poker?
Yeah.
What are your goals? Are you really invested, or are you just playing 5 hours a week for fun? If your case is the latter, then TFP might not be for you, because you will not get a lot of you need to invest a lot of time in this game if you want to improve. So
It's kind of
mostly about that.
it's a case by case, right? It really depends, like all the things you mentioned. So I'm curious then, HDP, can you tell us more? Like, do you play
Yeah, because honestly,
recreationally?
I was thinking like that also when I started. I think I lost a lot of time because of that. I had this mindset, oh, I'm playing too low and I'm not good enough, and I'm just breaking even at 25 or 50 or something. And yeah, but why would you need to wait 2, 3 years to be at eventually, if you get there? Because if you're breaking even at an L25, it means that obviously you're missing some information. So why would you wait years to get to a higher level when, instead of investing right now? And when I'm saying investing, it's not necessarily buying some coaching from people, but joining a team, joining a CFP, trying to find a group that you can, of people that you can study with, that are like slightly better than you, ideally. So I don't think you need to wait for any particular stake or level. You need to, if you really want to get better at the game, there's no requirement. No, just start as soon as you can, pretty much, I would say.
Well, what do you think of the MDA versus no MDA argument? Because yesterday we had Derp, aka Seifold, on there, and he was kind of echoing the same thing as Prodigy, in that he thought that maybe MDA was no good because, like, you're doing things but you don't really understand the theory, and then at a certain point it might be like, although he did mention that some high stakes players also are playing MDA, but I think, like, the general thing that they were trying to echo was that you might not really understand the theory of, like, what it is
Yeah.
you're doing. So what's your take on that, since you're part of a CFP that does MDA, I believe?
Yeah, we're doing MDA, but I started by MDA with my first stable. I would in Poker Detox like years ago in the beginning. I think I joined in 2019 or something like that. So we at the time were really, really focused on MDA, and sure, like, everyone at the time was pretty average theory wise. And I mean, we also didn't have all the tools. I mean, we had Pio Solver back in 2019, but we didn't have GTO Wizard, and like, theory knowledge was not as widespread as it is today. The MTA is necessary against recreational players, mostly, in my opinion. It's really hard to do without. when it comes to playing against recreational players, which are extremely common at low and micro stakes. So because recreational players, they don't play they don't play theory, they play human biases, they play emotionally, they don't have they have certain patterns, human patterns, let's say, that are not that you cannot analyze with a poker mind in a way. They don't play their range in a way that really makes sense. So I think, yeah, it is quite important to know some MDA at least against recreational players, the tendencies that they have. But then when it comes to playing sound poker, yes, obviously, like, theory is what you need, and you need to understand why some hands make more EV in this way, not another way. Um, you need to understand range interaction is the most important thing to understand, I think. And I mean, it's a lifelong process, really, of understanding range interaction. Um, this is the basis of everything. Range interaction is what makes you pick one certain c-bet size, one certain frequency, makes you want to, yeah, it's just everything. So MDA then at that point, when you understand all of that good enough, is like a good addition on top of that to see where you should push your frequencies more towards one direction or another. It would be, I don't know, if you play basketball, for instance. I'm pretty sure you can do MDA on basketball, right? To see how people usually strategize, how they use, their defensive or aggressive strategy in game and stuff like that. And people do that all the time in any competitive environment, sports, games, etc. So I think at some point when you're really serious about the game, you need to have this information
That's
one
interesting.
way or
Yeah,
another.
I didn't think of it in that way. In that, like, if you hardcore study theory, obviously there's so many different spots. So
Hmm.
it's like maybe not the
No,
fastest to improve.
no, it's definitely not the fastest. If you start, like, if you just starting out, like you've been playing for a year, you play micro stakes and you're just grinding the solver and getting all the perfect sizes that he picks and then construct your range in a perfect way, etc. I don't think it is the right path. You need to do this a little bit on the side, of course, yes, but uh, micro stakes, everyone is so imbalanced that you're better off just applying very simple strategies and then adding these layers of complexity later on
Yeah.
uh, in the process.
So,
So
like, actually, by the way, Limitless just joined one of the tables, so maybe starting his grind here. Nice to have him. But so let's say like you study MDA and then you kind of start having a decent knowledge of it, and you talk about range interaction. Is
mhm.
there a scenario where, let's say, like on a specific spot, instead of being able to picture very clearly what hands you have and what hand villain has, you perceive the strengths of both of your ranges very well, but you're not quite seeing exactly the hands necessarily?
Yes. So what is the question here?
Like, yeah, I'm curious if that's what it feels like initially, and then later you're able to kind of convert that knowledge of strength of ranges into picturing the actual hands better that
Well,
somebody could
let's
have.
take this hand that they're playing, like TaxHere and Belusin, for instance. There's a king 4-3 rainbow board, your IP, and if you take a very simple MDA approach, you're like, okay, people generally overfold when I bet small on the flop, right? So, simple strategy. I'm gonna range bet all the time that type of board. So all the Broadway disconnected rainbow, I'm gonna range bet everywhere, which is completely fine, to be honest. But this is the very first layer. Like, but why does it make sense to do this? Well, first of all, we bet small on these boards because we want to bet a lot of hands, and OOP has a lot of trash in their range. So again, it comes back to range interaction. So it's not we don't the solver doesn't bet because people because the other player overfolds to c bets. He bets small because this small bet is enough to put all the air type hands in OOP's range. So this is why it happens. Then if the solver in this spot would bet 80%, 75% of the time, in theory, if you make the big blind overfold tiny bit to this bet, then very, very quickly IP starts betting range. So you see that like the MDA strategy is backed up by theory. It's exactly the same thing. The solver is always a mass exploit anyway. It's not a perfect strategy. It's a mass exploit. I mean, we say perfect, but it's like a language abuse. Like it is a solver is always going for the mass exploit. Given the opponent he has. So if he knows this opponent is folding a tiny bit too much, then he's always going for the mass exploit, which in this case would be range betting this board always, for instance.
Okay.
And then same on the turn, etc. What is your opponent more likely to do? If you think he's going to overfold to a turn barrel, then you're incentivized to bet more. If you think he's going to underraise, also that impacts your strategy. Yeah, but that's why, like, understanding these, how these ranges interact and why do we do the things we do is very important. Then, of course, if it's just about learning sort of extremely simplified standard lines and strategies, this is not going to get you very far these days. I think it's way too simplistic. Can get you maybe up to out of micro stakes eventually, but yeah.
HDP elaborated, by the way. He said,
Yeah.
I play like 30K hands a month, have a job, so have to balance play and study and work. Of course, I want to at least be good enough to play No Limit 200 at least. Don't have enough sample on No Limit 25 to comment, but 10 plus BB per 100 on NL2 to 10 on 100K plus sample for each.
Wow,
and he said, and talking
huge.
about MDA, he said, yeah, I kind of noticed the same when I apply or try to take solver lines. I feel I have long, slightly winning break-even stretches, but when I play ABC poker, I tend to win faster. Of course, variance and biases in those observations as well.
Yeah, and also it's kind of hard to be interested how you define ABC poker because yeah, I don't really know what to make of that. But when 30,000 hands a month is a very, very, very decent volume. You know, some professionals don't even play that volume sometimes, depending on what they play. So it's just completely fine. The thing is, at these stakes, the only goal in my mind is just to get out of there as soon as you can, because it's just a massive rake trap. Value-driven poker is how you define ABC poker. Yeah, but same, like, what are we talking about? Like a under bluffing? Like, yeah, I don't really know. The thing is, at micro stakes, people are obviously the normal leaks that they have at all stakes, but even more pronounced, right? So if they overfold to bet check bet, for instance, they will fold a lot more at NL25 than they do at NL200, because at NL200 most players are professionals, the regs, and yeah, they just know more about the game and players' tendencies, etc. So the hotspots, as we say, are increased and much bigger at small stakes. So usually you're incentivized to go for the mass exploits everywhere, also knowing that the opponents at NL25 are much less likely to notice what you're doing and adapt and counter exploit you, because of course every time you take a mass exploit you expose some potential counter exploits. But again, like, if people are clueless and don't do anything about it, then you're making more money this way, obviously, than keeping your frequencies in check, for instance.
So, but then, like, do you feel like, let's say HDP, he said 30K hands a month, but I guess without knowing if he plays fast tables or not, I'm assuming he doesn't. Then that's kind of an insane volume, to be honest.
It's really good volume. I mean, if you play normal tables and you have a job on the side, playing 30,000 hands is really good, honestly.
But then, so do you think for that, like, we don't really know his income, and if if he has
Of course,
if he
but
has
then,
money to spare for like coaching.
sure.
But do you think like a CFP 30K hands a month is enough, or do they expect more?
Yeah, of course. I mean, but you need some time to study on the side also if you want to improve. Because
Yeah, okay.
if you really want to take away all the take advantage of that kind of program, you need also some hours to study and to familiarize yourself with the material and all of that. So if you have, I don't know, 50 when you have a full-time job might be too much, but like 30, 40 hours per month to dedicate to poker, then you should probably do at least half study, half play or something. You will play less, but you will study more, and you need to take advantage of this 1 year you have in your contract, for instance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't play fast tables well, which is good, I guess. And I would also say that if you have 10 big blinds plus at an L10, you should never play an L10 again.
He's crushing it though.
Yeah, exactly. But you're crushing it. Like it makes no sense to stay at
Oh, stay
10
there
and
and
L.
keep
Like
crushing.
no. When you're at 10 and L, you don't want to stay there and keep crushing. I think this is slowing you down. You're just paying money to the site. That's all you're doing. Need to.
A friend wants to join the call, so I have to call again, and then you have to pick up in a second. Okay.
Yeah. All
Okay.
right.
Calling. HDP, what's your bankroll management like? Like, how many binds do you have, or like, are you looking to have when you move up? Tell us about this. And I believe we got Mr. Ivica Iliev in the call. Are you there? Yeah, I see you muted. Maybe sorting through some sounds.
Mm-hmm.
John
Yeah.
Cena's.
In the meantime, HTTP is saying the pools are so big at these stakes that it would take forever to get a read. Yes, that's why data is more important at these stakes. Mass data on the pool in general, especially when you play stakes, micro stakes, small stakes, even up to mid stakes when the pools are really big, getting individual reads on every player you're playing against is just not the most efficient way. Like it would take you way too long. So you can just focus on the pool on average, and you say, okay, pool overfolds here, overcalls here, and etc. So and then as you move up, and when you get yourself to mid stakes plus, then you get to play the same guys over and over again every day, and then you can get more precise and get individual reads on players, and then at that point, of course, it's vastly superior because some players have very different tendencies. But when you're playing an L10 and an L25, of course, just go for the general reads on the pool. It's just much easier.
Yeah. And I believe we got Mr. Ivica Iliev now with us. Hello.
Hi, bro. Lovely to hear you, and I hope to see you sometime this year later on.
Yeah.
And hello to your other guest, Bloody Mary. How
Hey
are you
man,
doing?
what's up? Nice talking to you.
Yes, I just heard you talk about the pool tendencies. I was setting up audio, guys. Sorry, it took me some time. I'm on Macintosh and I connected it on like a big TV, so audio is split between TV audio and the headphone audio. So that's why I couldn't hear you or speak earlier on.
But it
When I
works
tried.
well now?
It works well. I hear you in my headphones. I don't know even if TV is doing the audio at the same time. I'm using a huge TV so that I can multi-table these straddle anti-tables, you know. I'm not using monitors anymore.
You're not
So
playing at the
that's what.
same time, are you?
No,
Okay.
on my PC right now. I have the stream, Poker
Okay.
Strategy stream that we are on, but I'm actually doing a call with you on Macintosh, which is connected to another TV.
Okay.
I'm like a NASA guy now, you know. Two TVs in a small room. You know?
Yeah. So then, yeah, what's new with you then? What have you been up to?
I've just been grinding since mid-July. I guess like 4 or 5 months. I've been just playing straddle games exclusively, straddle and ante on apps, and it's very different from everything I've done before because the tendencies in these games, from pre-flop to post-flop, sizes, hand strength, The way people are stacking off is very, very different. And to make everything more crazy, it's not like when you play on, Coin Poker or some other sites where you can like extract hand history and do the analysis. I went through 4 or 5 months of just taking daily notes on opponents and figuring out how to exploit individual opponents and the field in general to have a profitable win rate. And I've been playing NL100 plus, NL100 and NL200 mostly there.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it was very good and profitable.
So that's a lot of work, but you still get the hand histories, right?
The hand histories, it's very tricky on apps. Like now when you're playing, you click and you see, just like when Poker was starting, you couldn't see the showdown, right? The showdown you could see only if the opponent went all the way to showdown, for example.
Sure.
But on the apps, they have this interesting feature where you can spend money, diamonds. You get like $25 is like whatever, 1,000 diamonds, okay? And for 1,000 diamonds, you get to see showdown of everyone, what they had on the table.
Clairvoyant hands like on Bodog and stuff.
Yeah, you get like 20 or 30 hands in $25. So think about it. If you're playing NL100, NL200, just to see a hand, like what everybody had at the table, if they were colluding or bots card sharing or something, it costs you $1-2 per hand to see, which is very unprofitable, right? You need to have insanely high win rate if you're paying, $1-2 per hand. Like this works if you play NL1K. This is nothing on L1K, but so that's why it's like a lot of note taking. I'm using sticky notes, and then I put the player's name, I screenshot their avatar, because these are Asian apps, so you're playing people from Asia. You don't know. I mean, I don't speak Chinese, Vietnamese or something, but these are letters from these countries, So if you don't do thorough study of opponents, you get yourself in really crazy leveling wars, And I've had guys open cutoff with 3 deuce off, 3-bet big blind versus under the gun with 10-7 off. Of course, people defending super wide to 3-bets, not even like 4-3 suited opening and defending. I'm talking, Queen 4 suited or whatever, King 8 off. So yeah, you need to do a lot of crazy adjustments and the sizing wise. And I'm going to tell you something that I can recommend to everybody. I never thought I would say this, but one of the weekends I sat down with ChatGPT. You're not going to believe this. I sat down because there's all these platforms like GTO Wizard and, Lucid Poker and all different training tools. But in general, you get the outputs from the training tools, what you put in, like the ranges and the tendencies that you put in for opponents. That's the final outcome that you get, right? And usually this takes a lot of time because you have to run like a whole bunch of different sims and different turns and river cards and stuff like that. But I just did it for experiment, and I went to ChatGPT and I said, listen, I'm playing this game, Stratolante game. I want you to give me strategy for 50 BB, 75 BB, 100 BB straddles. If you anticipate that they are doing this in opening ranges, they are doing this when they defend to 3-bets, they are doing this when they are stacking off, and they are doing this post flop. And I did like 4 or 5 prompts in ChatGPT, and what ended up happening is ChatGPT gave me winning strategy. Until that point, I was break even in these games. Like I was always +1 at 2 BB, But now I'm crushing the games because the adjustments that ChatGPT gave me are just insane. Like
that's funny.
From pre-flop overfolding to not calling a lot because they're using larger sizes, to sizing down 3-bets when there are smaller stacks, to post-flop on different textures, what are exploits. Because I use these strategies that a lot of CFPs use, when they teach you about post-flop, they simplify the turn and river runouts. So they would say a turn is a paired card, a turn is a blank, a turn is a flush completing or straight completing card, and then a turn is like an overcard, ace, king, or queen, So I was feeding ChatGPT with these potential turn and river cards, and I was telling ChatGPT what I felt the opponents were doing in these spots. Like, how do I adapt if they are on these doing this? And I was asking ChatGPT, give me a strategy. What do you think is like optimal strategy here to play? And then I was adapting like the exploit strategy. It took me one Sunday. I did this for like 7 or 8 hours. I saved all the notes and I sent it to my friend who also plays up games. And yeah, since then we've been just winning super solid in games. So it was like a free coaching with ChatGPT. Insane. I never thought I would say this, but I just did it for fun and experiment, and it turned out to be better. And I asked ChatGPT, where are you getting your sources from? Because for straddle and anti games, there aren't many, you know, let's say resources or coaching videos or stables or something like that. Those are mostly hidden private games which not everyone has access to, you know. And then ChatGPT shared. It said I used Upswing, I used GTO Wizard, I used, you know, some other resources, whatever. So yeah, it's pretty interesting and crazy.
So you see, Johan, we were talking about like coaching and how much it costs, etc. So it doesn't cost anything. You can ask ChatGPT.
Yeah, but obviously, yeah, it's not as complete. It can make errors. I've also dabbled a little bit. I was surprised
Just kidding,
actually.
but yeah, it's interesting. I mean, so of course, yeah, you can feed him some inputs that you have, but of course, I mean, you still need to do the work on your own. Like it's not gonna turn you instantly into
Yeah,
into
I was
a
surprised
better
because
player.
it knew that in my polls people on the bluff, and it was like already like mentioning that and like how to adjust the strategy. And I was like, oh my god, like how? How do you know that? You know,
Wow.
like you haven't even played in those games. But yeah, I think
It's not exactly a secret that people tend to underbluff at low stakes, I guess. But
that's true. But like, I mean, I don't know exactly how like an AI like fully works, but I assume it just like it can gather information very quickly on the internet. I kind of think of it as like a super Google personally. And yeah, I was just
yeah,
surprised. I expected it to bug out and be like, you know, poker
the
online. Like,
issue
what are you
that it
talking
probably
about? You know,
also
like,
the issue is probably also integrates a lot of fake information, let's say, like that is gathered on forums and stuff like that. So then you need to
yeah.
double check, like, is it really like reliable information, or
It's
is it
like
just
pulling all the Reddit
spitting out
threads
something that comes? Yeah, exactly. It's something
about
that
bad
someone
bits
said
as
on
like
Reddit.
definite information. It'd be so sick.
Yeah, if you read just like the old school stuff where it's saying, oh, recreational players, they never bluff, and then it's gonna spit that out to you, and then you just fold all the time against recreational players, which is a terrible thing to do.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's super hard to, when you do the first prompt, you'd get just the general poker knowledge stuff that you can get by reading an article or maybe going to Reddit poker and finding somebody explain something. The power of outputs basically is determined by the power of your inputs. The more specified or specific you are about the spot or sizings or ranges, the better it starts to think and formulate. It's like talking to a real person, but the real person is a super adaptable person who has knowledge from everywhere. You know, it comes down to that. What was interesting, you can try this experiment with just a c-bet strategy. Let's say you take a queen 9-5 two-tone texture, which is a flush draw texture, and you can just ask ChatGPT, hey, I'm playing whatever, 6 max, ante without, whatever. I would like to know button versus big blind c-betting strategy. And then you will see, it will tell you, okay, you're supposed to use a semi-large size, and you're supposed to bet this for value and this for whatever, for draws and etc. But then you will see it miss a ton of hand categories. It's not going to tell you what to do with under pairs. It's not going to tell you what to do with ace highs, with king highs. You know what I mean? Like all this stuff that you can see in GTO Wizard on the grid, how these hands, for certain reasons, bet. And then as you optimize the prompt, and I started asking ChatGPT, hold on, I learned by studying GTO that all these under pairs like deuces, threes, and fours are bluffing often three barrels, you know? So how about you start telling me about that? Like, why are you hiding this from me? You know, when you start talking, and then ChatGPT goes, "Oh yeah, you are right. You can do this with or without the flash blocker." Blah blah blah. You know, the more you put in time, like I said, I spent 7 hours, and I was very happy after 7 hours of doing this. Of course, goes without saying that if I had an access to a winning poker regular who plays anti and straddle games, which I don't right now, 7 hours with such regular would give me not even like this input. It would give me 10 times better results, because you speak to the professional and you say, what do you consider regs are doing on flush completing turns on rivers when they barrel or stab or probe, and then the winning regular will tell you, based on my data, they are under bluffing, over bluffing, or an ace highs, they are turning low pairs into bluff or whatever, like the winning regular knows this stuff and passes it on to you within the seconds. ChatGPT has no clue unless you tell him or her or it what you expect the opponents are doing. So the power of outputs is in the power of inputs, But the main takeaway is just adjusting ranges. When somebody, GTO sizes are like 4.5 big blinds in these games from early positions. Once you reach button, it's like 5. And then small blind, big blind are opening 6 big blinds. That's basically the structure. But the people in these games are not using 4.5, 5, and 6 big blinds. They're using 6 to 8 big blinds, right? They are using larger opening size. And just based on that larger opening size, your range changes completely. It's unbelievable because pot to stack ratio changes post flop. So you have to be very, very careful just in the difference in sizes. I think I saw somebody on GG Russian Cash do this, and I was telling Todd about this. Johan, I was telling you about this guy using like 7 big blinds opening size, and I was estimating that this guy is crushing in games because nobody is really fluent how to respond to non-regular raise first in sizes. Like you have to sit down with a pre-flop editor and figure out what's the frequency of calling versus large sizes, what's the frequency of 3-betting. And that changes, ante and straddle games are not 6 max, they are 8 max. So you have all these other positions and dead money in the pot, and people can squeeze at any moment behind you. So that changes the whole dynamic of what you're supposed to 3-bet, squeeze, or stack off with. It's very aggressive and swingy game in comparison to 6 max. So I've been basically under a lot of swings since end of July. I love it. It's a great ride. I finally learned a new format. Somebody in the chat says, isn't there a GTO Wizard? Yes, there is for 8 max. It's a separate subscription. I believe it's like $150, $160 a month is that one. A friend of mine who plays on Coin Poker, he has it. And another friend of mine who had like a GTO Wizard AI, I checked the solutions there. But like I said, it's nothing like what people are doing in these games. You see somebody opening cut of 3 deuce off, like come on, or under the gun opening 5-3 suited, or somebody limp 3-betting with 5 deuce suited, or like this is
So
not
how is that different to if it were to be done in a normal like 6 max game here without ante?
So without ante, because there is no ante, you are less incentivized to steal the pots, which means you can keep your ranges tighter, right?
Yeah.
There is less money to fight for. As soon as you start paying ante, now you need to fight for this extra money. Also, when you're defending, when somebody opens or 3-bets, because there is extra money and you get better pot odds, now you can defend more hands by 4-betting or by calling. That's basically the bottom line theory. But the problem starts to happen if you think you know your opponent's range, but then they start showing up with either polarized range in a spot where they're supposed to be linear or vice versa. Like your whole defend range changes. Somebody who is polarized, you're not going to defend same range. Or if they are not, if you look at the GTO ranges for straddle games, you will see that versus first position, straddle is supposed to 3-bet like 7%. I'm just giving you an estimate, which is, I believe, like 99% correct. But 7% can be a very different range from what GTO says and what people in games do. I just told you somebody was 3-betting me with 10-7 off. That hand is not GTO 3-bet. You're gonna get blocker 3-bets, and you're gonna get like strong linear value hands in this 7%, and that's it. But if somebody starts 3-betting you 10-7 off and blah blah blah, they're likely doing a very polarized version of 3-betting range. And if you don't catch up to this, like your defending range is not going to be the same. And it changes greatly depending if you're in position or out of position.
Yeah.
If you're out of position, you are losing a lot of money in straddle and ante games by calling, by not 4-betting. So you would see a very high frequency of 4-bets when you face a 3-bet when you're out of position. Like all this stuff that mixes in 6-max, ace-jack suited, ace-queen suited, king-queen suited, king-jack suited, king-10 suited, all that stuff is like over 50% frequency in straddle games. So it just pushes the aggression, it builds the pots, and you get a feeling like you're playing a sit and go or like a, I don't know, 50 big blind poker in MTTs, something like that is basically what it comes down to, you know. But there is a lot of money in these games. I think you can have at least like 15, 20 big blind win rate if you adjust correctly.
Yeah.
Which is insane. It's like heads up win rates, you know. Very good win rates.
Do you want to take a look at the 3-bet bot, Johan?
First, I wanted to follow up with HTTP because we didn't quite continue. Like he was commentating more on like what we were talking about earlier. So maybe you can react to this, Flody, since you know it was, I think, mostly directed towards you, and maybe you have more advice for him. He added, "No, I don't play fast tables. I'm moving up as fast as I can. I keep at least 50 buy-ins for stake when I take a shot, but it's not so much about bankroll. It's just lack of confidence in ability to where the pool is better. So just put in volume, bid, and move up."
Yeah, okay. Well, my answer is to take shots, I don't think you need 50 binds. I think you can definitely take shots more aggressively at these stakes when the money is not life-changing, you know. I don't think, I mean, I hope your life is not going to change if you lose 10 binds of an L25. And otherwise, you should probably do something different. Yeah, so take shots more aggressively at these stakes so you can just get out of the rig trap as soon as you can, like hit the NL 100 mark plus, let's say. And about confidence, I mean, you just built your confidence at lower stakes, right? You said you have more than 10 big blinds per 100 at like an L10 and NL something, what do you say? Like below an L10 or something. I mean, this is your confidence. Like, then
you think that's enough? Because, like, for me, for example, I play No Limit 50, and then I have 80 binds for No Limit 50 on my main platform that I play. So that's 40 binds for No Limit 100. But I feel like every time I play No Limit 100, I could tell the regs were way better. And obviously, there is some recreationals, and maybe I could have some type of win rate, but it doesn't feel comfortable where I feel like most regs are outplaying me. Or at least that's limited experience I have so far.
This is mostly, I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone will say that this is just a feeling that you get every time you move up, but it's not the case. I mean, the difference between NL 50 and NL 100 is not it's not extreme by any means. It's just a feeling that we get when we move up. We think everyone is outplaying us and it's better and blah blah blah. But we should try to keep exactly the same way we were playing in L50 and keep the same strategy, and then move on from that. But the shots have to be small, you know. Like if you have 80 binds of an L50, then you take your shot at an NL 100, you take a 5-bind shot, for instance. You know, you lose 5 binds and then you move back. I know it's annoying, but you have to do this over and over again until you stick the landing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I hadn't thought of this because I always feel like when I do a session. I don't really think in terms of binds, but I do feel like taking a 5 binds shot would be.
Yeah, I mean that's how you move up, because when it works, then you stay there and you don't. Yeah, so you to go.
All right, that's it for the stream, guys. I'm gonna go take my shot with my 5 binds right now. Then
on 10K, right?
I don't have enough binds for that.
I guess one or two is fine on 10K, right? Yeah, there is a great video from GTO Wizard people where they discuss hidden gems for every poker player. One of them is bankroll management, and they mention how many people are bankroll nits, and they are using this 50 to 100 buy-ins rule, and they basically proved with math and Kelly criteria and everything that it's actually 20 to 30 buy-ins is enough, and you're doing these micro shot takes. And what happens when you do micro shot takes is you get used to the new limit faster. You dip your toes in right away. You get smacked, you go down, you rebuild, and you become more resilient to these swings, you know, because it
Exactly. I
motivates you
agree
to work harder.
100%. I think that's exactly the way to go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because what Jon said is absolutely correct. When you move from 50 to 100, there is going to be better level of regs who are going to smack you down and own you pre-flop and post-flop and
Yeah.
simply no spots. And that's like a great schooling effect because you
Mm-hmm.
can take these hand histories, you can say I pay the price by learning in live games,
Yeah.
right? And then you go to solver, then you put this in and try to understand why are they doing this in 3-bet pot on turn, why are they depolarizing out of position, how does it work, blind versus blind, why do they have these very good broken lines, why do they check raise river here with this blocker or unblocker, you know, like all these questions will start to pop out and then you will be like better player for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it also makes you better at the lower stake that you were playing.
Yes, your
Because
win
you
rate
will
will
be
go up.
much more confident when you get to.
Yeah, but that's another thing where they were saying on GT Wizard, they were using a win rate example, which is similar to what Nick Howard, you know, brothers Patrick and Nick Howard.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about the Poker Detox main guy. I'm talking about the MDA Howard brother. He basically talks about the variance, influence of variance, and the lower the win rate, the higher the variance. So
Sure.
if you get 5 to 10 BB win rate, pre-promos and everything, you're going to have much smoother ride moving up. If you're struggling between 0 to 5 big blinds, you're going to get more, I mean, 0 to 2, 3 big blinds. Basically, he used as an example. You're going to have swings where you're not going to be sure if you're beating the game or not. You know, the edge is clearly not there. And somebody mentioned in the chat, I'm following on the other TV, somebody mentioned that they don't play fast games, fast tables. Fast tables are great for getting hand histories in and learning theory fast. They are amazing because you play regulars, you learn how regulars play. Saulo Costa, in his course, Low Stakes Blueprint, addressed this, like how to gain edge versus regulars. And at the end of the day, they are low stakes regulars. They are not mid stakes or high stakes regulars. Just think about that. Like, if you can beat low stakes regulars, how are you supposed to play mid and high stakes? Poker money comes from winning from fish. You need somebody who is going to be a recreational player and pay rake and lose money. But also there is nuances of how good a regular can be. You know, right now we can discuss poker strategy, and then you have, I don't know, name somebody from the current championship, come in and talk about strategy. They would own us 24/7 in poker. If we played 100K hands with them, they would come out winner in the end because their edge and knowledge of poker is such a big difference. And you know, somebody who plays NL 100, 200 is on lower level technically speaking and theoretically speaking from somebody who crushes NL 500. I have friends who are beating NL 1K, NL 2K. They're not in this challenge. They tried last time to play the mid stakes challenge. Some of them I mentioned to Johan for the mid stakes, but they're not in the high stakes challenge, and it's a huge gap between people who play NL 10K, 20K, and people who play 1K, for example.
Of course.
It's a big jump. And but like you were mentioning before I joined, I caught a couple of minutes when you were talking about micro and low stakes. It's a you don't need to worry about being balanced. You need to figure out what the field is doing and exploit the field. If they are never bluffing enough, you need to overfold. If they're if they're not 3-betting enough, you need to also overfold to 3-bets. If they are 4-betting tight, you need to, you know, all these like adjustments. You make money in poker by understanding your opponents. And somebody in chat wrote, I need this guy to coach me. I play straddle ante on club VPT Gold. Yeah, I mean, for that, I'm not going to offer my services to anybody or promise anything. I can share with you knowledge that I gained from playing these games last 5-6 months. But yeah, I will not have time to coach anybody on this. I was playing double shift from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. I was grinding every day from Monday to Saturday. Jon knows this. And next Thursday, I'm stopping with this and I'm moving to a more easy schedule where I will be just grinding 5 a.m. to 1 p.m., something like this. So I will have more time in the afternoon to study more and to diversify, to play regular six max, and to, I think I will be back on maybe GG, maybe coin poker. I'm not sure. One of these two sites I will go back to play in the afternoon.
Do you live in Europe or?
I'm in Serbia, so our options are
Ah,
non-existent or limited, But I like to travel, and the reason why
no, but I
I'm
was
talking.
wondering why you were starting at 5 in the morning. That's
Oh,
why.
because these are Asian apps, and the time zone is like 6 hours, 5, 6,
Yeah,
7 hours. So they don't start when it's in Serbia 5 or 6 a.m. It's like 11 or 12, and the games don't start early morning in Asia. Like they start early afternoon. So for me to catch traffic, I have to be up like I'm working in a bakery, like I'm
yeah.
baking bread and croissants and stuff like that.
It's not that bad.
It's good. It's good habits. I go to bed like 10, 11 latest. So I get maybe 6 hours of sleep every day, Monday through Saturday. And then Sunday is like a sacred day, family, lunch,
Yeah, it's
relax, study,
Football.
different lifestyle, but it's probably a little bit more healthy than what I do, playing nights and waking up that late. So
What times are you playing? Are you just doing nights?
evenings, I mean, late afternoon and evenings, and then I wake up at like 2 in the afternoon or something. So yeah.
2 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That can be good, bro. That can be good.
No, long term, it's not amazing. Of course.
What sites are you playing on if it's not a secret?
No, it's not. PokerStars and Winamax.
Oh, PokerStars, but that's limited. Are you playing segregated pools like
Both,
Spain, Italy, or
both. Yeah, Spanish, French, because
French?
I'm
Nice.
French, and and the normal one also, the European one.
Did you get chance to get access to American pools? Like everybody's
No,
trying to
that's
get.
I don't think that's possible, unfortunately.
I mean, I know people that can get you this service for like profit sharing fee and whatever,
Yeah.
but it's very,
I
very
wouldn't do
limited.
that with PokerStars. Honestly, I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
want.
not talking just poker stars. I'm talking party poker and whatever, because this is like
Okay.
it's like when people are looking to bet on sports games, they're looking to rent accounts to bet or something like that. There is people living in USA or in Europe, like you mentioned, Spain, Italy, France, something like that, that are basically giving you their account to play for you to have
Yeah, I
access
get
to
it,
this
man. But the
service.
thing is, I've always been very careful with these things. I've never been a fan of these very borderline options, let's say, and I have a little bit of an ethical problem with that. But
Yeah.
it is just me. I mean, I'm not saying anyone should
I'm
do
going to
it,
be
but
honest with you. It's not borderline. It's illegal for sure to do
I
this.
mean, yeah, of
It's
course.
not
But
borderline.
even so things like using VPNs and pretending that you're in another country and stuff like that, I never liked to do that. I never did it myself. I kind of have a little ethical problem with it, but I know
Okay.
that many players do, and yeah, I just try to go with my legal options, available options. It's definitely not the highest EV, but I can sleep at night better that way.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know in what country you are situated right
I'm
now.
in Austria,
In Austria.
like
Okay.
Johan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything is open there. And I remember Theodor Holtz when he moved from Germany to Austria and won the case on the court not to pay taxes on poker. So that was great for poker in
Yeah,
Austria.
at the moment, yes, but you can play almost everywhere, not everywhere, but most European sites, yes. Yeah.
By the way, just to react to chat quickly, Cyrus mentioned that I should stream it, my road to 200 no limit. I do stream actually late in the evenings. If you want to give me a follow at Todd on Twitch. But I would add to what I was saying earlier, like that I have enough bankroll, is that I kind of feel like I don't really have a win rate at no limit 50, but most of the money really comes from like the the promos and like rakeback. But pre all that, I actually don't really have like a solid win rate or anything. So that's kind of maybe also what doesn't give me the confidence to move up. Right? We always talk about, oh, you should play 100,000 hands and then have like this amount of BB per 100, and then like then you move up. But then for me, it's like I look at my graph and it's not going up, but then my bankroll is going up from the promos and like potential, like all the potential things you can get.
I mean, if you're waiting for 10 big blinds per 100 on GG, you will wait for a long time anyway.
Maybe with promos you can. I mean, we don't know Johan's promos fully, but the
Yeah.
question is not even about the win rate for me. Like win rate over 100,000 hands, you can get really nice setups here and there. You can win a lot of bomb pots. You can get, bad beat jackpots and whatever. Uh, what I am looking for is my subjective and realistic feeling of edge in the games I'm playing. If I'm playing and I get into a lot of spots where I don't know what's going on, like people are owning me, I'm folding, and I'm there sitting with bluff catchers, and I'm not sure if it's a good bluff catch or not, or I have this hand that can potentially be turned into bluff, but I don't know if I should do it, or if I should 3-bet, 4-bet pre-flop. It means that my overall confidence in the game and edge is not there yet for this limit. Like every time you're moving through a limit, you get this feeling and you're like, oh yeah, I'm riding this game well. I don't have problem for my opponents. I'm making money because the decisions I make at the table are bringing money. But as soon as you depend on rakeback, on promos, this kind of is disguised, and then you are stuck in this uncertainty, and then the swings can get really brutal. When I played on GG, I remember playing Russian Cash. I had months when I was having pre-promos where I lost like 50 stacks, 60, 70 stacks. But the reason why I was losing 50, 60, 70 stacks was I was trying things out, I was like, okay, 3-bet pot. Let's see how opponents react to check raises on paired boards. Let's see how they react with check raise.
Yeah, I'm also trying things out. I'm trying to play good poker, but so far it's not working.
No, but I completely agree with what you said. How should I call you? Ivy Kaliev?
Yeah, it's a nickname. It's a football player from Partizan Belgrade, but my name is Peja. I mean, my nickname is Peja.
Peja, okay. So I completely agree with what you said, and I will also throw out some unpopular opinion here, but I think win rates are overrated.
Really?
Yeah. Without going into too long of a discussion, I just think that at micro stakes, it really doesn't matter. Like no one cares because this is not the stakes. Your goal is not to stay at an L25 anyway. Like no one really cares what your win rate is at an L25 because you're never gonna make real significant money there or become a professional playing an L25. So your goal should be just to get to 200 as fast as possible.
Yeah.
So every time you get the opportunity to, whether it's your bankroll is big enough thanks to a bet beat jackpot or something like that, then start building your confidence as soon as you can at higher stakes. And of course, if it doesn't go well, then you need to move back down quickly. Of course, don't spew it all at NL200 immediately if it starts bad. But you should take aggressive shots, but move down quickly. And the number of buy-ins, HTP, man, it really depends on your situation. Like, if you have a good job and you're making $5,000 per month and the poker money is completely irrelevant, then do whatever you want. I would like to say, like, then the bankroll is not an issue. And then, of course, if these 30 buy-ins are the only money you can dedicate to poker, and it's like significant amount for you, then be a lot more careful, of course. So I don't think there's one universal rule. I've always been way too reckless when it comes to that, and it's kind of a mistake in retrospect. Some people are extremely way too careful with bankroll management, and they wait until they have hundreds of binds to move up, and it slows down the progression a lot, I think. So it really depends, man. I mean, there's too many factors, but taking aggressive shots, I think, is just the way to go, as long as it's a small number of binds.
Yeah. Trying to react to chat again. We had some comments. This is probably more for if it's Wonky the Man said, I grind 9 hours a day. I play full time. Do you know any straddle anti-coaches? And Mike J Music said, I play those same straddle games. Really recommend opening to 4.5x BB, question mark. I've been doing 3x, but could experiment with a bigger size.
Okay, Johan, I'm not seeing that second question because I'm just following on Twitch.
Oh yeah, the second one is on YouTube. But
Okay,
you can take
open
it.
YouTube to follow as well. Yeah, if you can just send me a link, direct link for YouTube to follow chat there, that would be great. So the first question: do I know any straddle ante coaches? No, I spoke to some high stakes pros and asked them if their new CFPs are having, you know, straddle and ante included. I'm not going to name drop, but you know who is the best right now with the latest CFP. I basically talked to one of the two important people when it comes to this. And yeah, they didn't have this in their CFP. So unfortunately, I don't have anyone to recommend you. I learned this very hard way. It took me from end of July, so that's like August, September, October. Now it's end of November, 4 months in, and a bunch of hours of hands played. I probably played couple 100,000 hands on this to figure out what the winning strategy is in comparison to GTO and how to adapt to the field. Basically using different 3-bet sizes, 4-bet sizes, how they react when they stack off for different stack depths, how sticky or unsticky they are post-flop, on what kind of textures, how they play on high cards, how they play on flush completing cards, on straight completing cards, how they do in broken lines. So yeah, I think I cracked the code. I'm not promoting any courses or coaching. I'm just telling you, it took 4 months of really hard work and very little sleep to figure out how to win. And the second question about the opening sizes, I'm opening GTO sizes now. I used to open larger sizes, and I was leaking money opening larger sizes because, like I said, in straddle and ante games, you have a lot more opponents, and the opportunity for somebody to 3-bet or squeeze goes up. One of the mistakes I was doing also is calling too loosely in some positions like button, and not mixing enough, with certain hands when it comes to like 3-betting or squeezing. I was just calling. That's a mistake because, again, even if you're on button, you have 3 opponents on small blind, big blind, and straddle that can squeeze you out of the pot, whether that's ace 5 suited or king jack, king 10 suited, or whatever, even king queen off. If you call it pre-flop, that could be a problematic depending on opponents you're playing. If your table is passive, you can pretty much extend your calling range, right? Because the opportunity for them to squeeze correct ranges goes down. But if they are aggressive regs, which in my games they are, you need to be very, very careful, and your VPAP and PFR will drop down, and you're going to start playing more aggressively to take action yourself pre-flop. And then post-flop, you need to be able to hand read like a beast and bluff catch people with 4th pairs once in spots where they're going to bluff ace queen, ace king, king queen, suited ace x or whatever, or turn low pocket pair into a bluff. So if you can use bigger sizes if you have calling stations, and I would do it exploitably. So for example, let's say you wake up with kings and aces, they are unpaired, they are paired hands, and they're the strongest hands, maybe queens, kings and aces, okay? In this example, I would size up because very likely you're gonna play post-flop multi-way. It's not 6 max or heads up where you play one opponent. Very often in ante and straddle games, you play multi-way a ton. So if you're multi-way with ace king, many times you're going to miss and hit nothing and be stuck in a sandwich position where button called your raise and the straddle is there, and you're sitting there from first position and you missed, and you're going to play check fold a ton. So using a large size with ace king exploitably is not going to do wonders for you. But using it with kings and aces, for example, pumping the pot and getting extra money from these loose passive players, let's call them like that, loose passive, you're going to make a lot of money. And this goes same for post flop. When you have draws, if they are very sticky and calling, you should play your draws very passively. And if you are like value heavy, you should pump up your sizing because they're going to call you with 8-6 off on whatever, queen 10-9, they're gonna call you with a weak gut shot, you know. So it makes sense to start sizing up with your draws, with your value and with your draws, to consider more checking them in position and realizing equity, you know. And same goes for out of position, obviously, or consider block betting like 10%. I'm taking too much time, sorry, for talking about this strategy. I'm just too involved in this game format, and I'm happy to see that people in chat are interested in this format. I didn't expect this, honestly.
The anti-degenerates gather all together almost. Maybe Flody, you can react to some comments from Death by Monkeys. He said, appreciate this convo and can relate to you 100%, Johan. I've been struggling with the same issues trying to make the jump from no limit 200 to no limit 500. And I've been trying for 3 years or so. For me, it's definitely mental issue and risk issue because I play for a living and I have a family. So it's more comfortable to just grind no limit 200 and be guaranteed my income instead of trying to move up. But I know I'm missing a lot of EV not moving up. But whatever, I can write forever about it. Thanks for great content, guys.
Yeah, 200 to 500 is definitely one of the biggest gaps, I would say. It's 2.5x the amount. People are usually significantly better at 500 because people playing 500, you have a lot of reds playing 1K, 2K, and just going down and opening 500 tables when nothing else is available. So I always found that it was the biggest gap. When, for instance, I think between 100 and 200, the gap is quite negligible. I felt, at least when I did it. And yeah, I mean, I understand, and that's why I know a lot of players that for a very, very long time, they've always been playing even 100, 200 NL, and never really moved up to 500 plus because they are not comfortable with the swings. Much that they just want to, they're like, oh, I have my 5 big blinds per 100 or something at NL 200. I know I can make that kind of stable. I mean, stable. I don't think we can talk of anything stable in poker, but yeah, I mean, more or less, I have an idea of what I can make in a year. And so I like to stay there and make life easy. And I mean, I understand. I understand. It's just a different personality types. I think the people playing the games that we're watching today are not that type of people. Obviously, for the immense majority of them, I don't know any players that move up to nosebleeds having that type of personality type. But there's nothing wrong with it. It's completely human to be. I was about to say risk averse, but yes, it is human to be risk averse. But I mean to be more careful, let's say, and you have to have a little bit of this degen gene in you to be able to move up to very, very big stakes. And it's not for everyone. I think just what it is, you know. Your life situation also changes a lot. Like a few years back, my life was very different. I was not relying so much on poker, and I was completely reckless with my move ups and my bankroll management because it was not that important to me. So, yeah.
HDP followed up. He said, would you advise 30 binds for current stake plus 5 binds of higher?
Yeah, I mean,
should be
I
enough?
kind of answered previously, and again, like it depends so much on individual cases. I don't know. I don't want to give like random numbers. It doesn't make sense, in my opinion. The most important thing is to be comfortable when you're at the tables, and everything we've said before when it comes to feel like you are better than the field and be comfortable with the plays you're making, be comfortable with the amounts. And if this is not the case, then
yeah,
you need more time.
What do you think about watching a little bit of the higher limits? Like you could open a couple tables and watch, and like, you know, it might build up your confidence in being like, oh, like this is totally biddable. I've had that live. You know, in
Sure,
Vegas,
why not? Yeah.
in Vegas, I play 1-3, and then a couple of times I was like, oh, I wonder what the 2-5 is like. And then I look at the table, I was like, oh my god, I need to sit down at this table. And then I sat at
Sure, I
2-5,
mean,
and I doubled up my first hand. Like,
Of course you can do that. I think until the moment you really punt off a stack in a 4-bet pot for 200 bigs with 10 high, you're not really comfortable at the table. But you know, like this is, of course, like watching can be good, but you really need to put yourself at some point in the situation, you know,
yeah.
and really be able to make the bluff you would make at your normal stake, but at one stake higher, and see if you can still handle it. If you're not taking the spot that you would have taken at NL50, you would have taken it, and you're not taking it at NL100, then you're not playing your best.
Yeah,
right?
makes sense. Do you guys want to do a hand by any chance?
Yeah, there was a big one with no.
Yes.
With, Linus and.
I saw one with Munez and Flushy.
Okay.
Before we do a hand, can you show the leaderboard maybe?
Yes,
Because
sir.
I'm totally out of it. Like I have no idea who is first, who is last, how many
Okay.
hands somebody played, or what the EVs are, and how our bro, you know, Owen is doing
Yeah.
Prodigy,
and how riggedeck, who was runner up. Oh, David, yeah, nice.
So the last update that happened today was 2 days of data, because for some reason the update yesterday didn't. Whoa, wait a second. I see something here. I feel like we have to watch, even though it's not the show table. Just in case we get a showdown, this could be epic.
Okay.
A massive jam from TaxHere
Wow.
and Flushy faced with quite a. He calls 44,000 in the middle, and we have Ace King versus sixes. He finds the value. Oh, that is sick.
Yeah.
That is actually sick. Okay, wait, let me.
It's a cooler, yeah. There's no way you can fold
That
there.
looks sick, yeah.
Top two, like weaker than top two, can jam there for value, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, back to the leaderboard. I feel like we had to watch this. I saw this jam, like, oh my god. Yeah, so right now it's 2 days of data that were added. Today, right now, it's day 14 of 28 days. So we are literally exactly pretty much halfway into the into the challenge. Davy Jones earlier, he was up 300K, and I think his BB per 100 was like 45, which obviously, you know, long term is not sustainable. Ever since, he's been losing a little bit here and there, kind of opening up the race. And TaxHere is Kevin Paquet. He's had the best day that anybody has had on the challenge, where he won 14 binds.
Wow.
He's had some swings. Lama is kind of been a steady climb up. Pot bet cats, not a big sample, but
happy for Lama, yeah.
insane win rate.
Owen said for Davy Jones that he was the most difficult player to play against, right? So I'm not surprised that Davy Jones is topping the leaderboard.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Limitless, actually, it was in the last 2 days. Like the small number here is what happened in the latest update. So in the last 2 days, he played 1,200 hands, and he won $107,000 in EV. So
Nice.
doing pretty good.
Now.
No, I mean, he can make a run at the Rolex. What are you talking about?
Wait, the Limitless, who is behind Limitless? Am I missing the player?
Sorry, what?
The actual player behind Limitless. Who is he?
What do you mean? Behind the nickname or the one under?
Yeah, behind the nickname. Do you know who?
Yeah, isn't that Victor Malinowski?
Oh yeah, okay. So it's Victor, like
I believe so.
Limitless. Yeah.
I believe so. Yes. Yeah. Then going through this.
Gale is there, the Balkan guy. I'm so happy for him.
Well, he was doing really good, but then he had like the last 2 days didn't go so well. 2K hands and almost -9 binds. He was at top 3, I think, at some point, maybe even top 2.
Yasam Gale, right?
Yeah.
Oh, but he has a winning EV, which is nice. He deserves everything, bro.
Yeah.
He's so good. I hope to see him in top 10. And Barak, is Barak playing? Is he somewhere on the
Yeah, he's in the reds, and so we'll get to him eventually. But Prodigy is in there. Prodigy went up and back down. He was in the negative for a bit and now kind of rebuilt back up. But in the latest updates, didn't play much. Only 223 hands and lost 1 bind in EV. So he's still in there. He's in the green at least. At least EV wise.
Breaking even, right?
Only EV wise.
1.97, yeah.
Yeah, he Prodigy is a few binds under EV, so unfortunately his real result is -2.
Yeah, he can buy a condo in Cambodia with this money, 24K. You know, it's enough for a studio in Cambodia. He won that much. That's nice. But
And
where is riggedeck from last championship? Is he not playing? Or?
he is, unfortunately, he's not doing too hot. He's dead last right now. Before the latest update, LLinus was last. For a long time, LLinus was last, and then he quit for a few days, came back, and then in the last 2 days, he won 6 binds in EV. So he's climbing back up. Unfortunately, he's quite a bit under EV.
Wow.
But, yeah, LLinus is coming back.
Change in leaderboards.
Yeah.
riggedeck is last, and LLinus is somewhere there. Wow.
Yeah, LLinus was last for like 5 days or something. And then he took a break. Now he came back in the last 2 days. 1,500 hands.
How many hands they have? LLinus and riggedeck, like 20 plus K hands.
Yeah, Rigged has 40K hands, and LLinus has 16K.
Wow. And is Matt Marinelli playing?
Yeah, that's him. I love Avril Lavigne.
He's there, huh?
Yeah, he's
In the bottom.
Yeah, bottom 2, unfortunately.
And Wacko, is Wacko playing?
No, he's not.
I can see Barack. I was only 17, right?
Yeah.
Wow, bro, they are all the way down. Yolan Cohen is playing this one.
Yeah, he was on the call like 3 times while playing, actually. That was pretty funny.
Really?
He was on last night, actually, but he wasn't playing last night. But before, he was on multiple times while playing.
And is Nacho, who runs his own stable, is he playing again? This high stakes? Or
I don't believe so.
No.
Flody is part of the Nacho group, so he can tell us, but yeah, I believe not.
Yeah, no. He just tried it out quickly last year, but he didn't.
And Wacko is not playing?
No, he's not.
He's not. Oh, that's too bad. Wacko is so creative and aggressive. It would be nice to see him in this lineup. I'm so happy that C Lama is like in the top 3-4.
Yeah.
I'm sad for Owen, riggedeck, LLinus, but I'm also very happy that Yasam Gale is holding his ground.
Yeah.
And doing well. And Davy Jones, I'm sure he deserves the best, because Owen was saying from day one that Davy Jones is probably, if he put volume, he would beat everyone here. So I'm not surprised to see Davy Jones topping the leaderboard, right?
These are the best days and worst days that's been had. So the worst day currently belongs to LLinus. He lost 11 binds. That was on day 5.
Mm-hmm.
And the best days, Kevin, 14 binds on day 5, upswing.
Wow.
And Davy initially, actually, he had I think he had 4 of the best days, but right now it's been reduced to 3 because I think maybe Kevin passed him in one of them. And Davy only had 1 of the worst days, which was -7 binds on day 10.
If he has so many good days, it makes you wonder if he is just much better than everyone, right? If he's consistently winning 5, 10, 15 stacks, there's got to be some additional edge that he has on opponents.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. It's halfway through. You guys watched 14 days of this. I just joined because, like I was saying, Monday through Saturday, I'm a grind machine. And in the evening, I study and do some solver work and figure out the edges. But I've only got chance 2 Sundays to check this out, to actually see a little bit commentary from you, Johan, and some other guests. But I had no idea about the leaderboard, and yeah, this is great. This is great. I think a lot of players will come back, like to see riggedeck, to see Matt Marinelli, to see who is the third guy, LLinus Love, like all the way bottom at the leaderboard. I mean, I expect, if not all 3, at least 2 out of 3 guys to go up. And Barack, who Owen holds in a great authority, like being one of the best players. At least Barack, from these 4 guys, at least 2 or 3 are gonna turn things around. But it's variance from this point on. It's only halfway through. So, but it's interesting to see. Yeah, some people we didn't expect are towards the top. And I think the best.
Who did you expect at the top?
I mean, Kevin Pake is 2 competitions in a row. He's in the top 5, right? That's such a great success.
Yeah.
Year, right?
Yeah.
So for me, Kevin Pake is absolute winner of these. In the last championship, he was doing so well and playing aggressively and pushing people around and playing some really good variant spots. And now you see him there sitting in the second spot with 17, 18K hands. It's so nice to see him doing. And then see Lama, who had probably the worst start last time, is now in the 4th or 5th place.
He finished at the bottom last time, I believe.
Yeah,
I can't
with
bring
like
it up, but
200K or something, right? He was down something like 100, 200K. I forget.
yeah,
the exact
255
amount. 255, right?
after 25,000 hands, and this time
That's
is
so
at the
great
top.
that you have it. Yeah, and Kevin Paquet, what was his score last time? On top, he's somewhere towards top 10.
He's
right?
a 5th, almost
Oh,
200K, but 72K hands.
Yeah, you
That's
see
insane.
that 5th place and now 2nd place. For me, this just shows consistency
Yeah.
in his play and aggression. That's just so many cool things happening in this championship. Yeah. And Kalujerovic, Dan, you see the Kalujerovic, the Montenegro flag.
Yeah.
He's 17th, but I don't think he's playing now.
No,
Decky
he's
is not
he
playing.
is but he's down. He was in the red. I'll bring him up.
He was in the red.
It's
But
Decky.
Decky. But Yasam Gale was right. Oh, Decky is there. Okay, cool. He is probably gonna turn things around too. He's very good, high stakes MTT and cash game player. Yeah, don't write off Balkan guys. They have the fight in them.
Never.
They got nothing to lose.
Yeah, going always with the fight, bro.
Yeah. Okay, let's go over this hand then that I've. It's Munez and Flushy, and we can go through it with the POV of Munez, who has Ace-8 of hearts in this specific hand.
For me, I'm watching on the streams, so probably as you speak, I'm gonna have like 5-second delay.
Yeah, it's fine.
Okay.
No, same.
So Munez opens 2.25 in the cutoff. Flushy 3-bets to 7.5 on the button. Let me see stack depth. We are 117 big blinds deep.
Mhm.
We get a call with the Ace-8 of hearts, and the flop comes Ace-7-6 rainbow. Munez checks.
Mhm.
Flushy bets 625 into 1650. So maybe Floddy,
40%, right?
hey, Floddy, you can open with your thoughts here.
Yeah, I'm opening it on this side. Yeah.
No, I mean like open up the the hand talk. What do you feel about these boards? And like, is it mostly one sizing?
Yeah, I would. I think the standard is 25% on A-side boards, as we said before, but this is what, like 30, 35 or something. Yeah. Fine, why not? Not a range bet board, but still a very decent board for us. Gonna do a lot of betting.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. Any hand, all the hands will mix, like, as it's a high frequency small bet spot.
So with Ace-8 of hearts here, you're just pure calling.
So Munez has Ace-8. You said, yeah.
Ace-8 of hearts.
So before looking at the solution, I would say, I mean, you need to mix check raises with Ace-X, of course, but Ace-8 sounds like a great just check call, pure to me. Yeah.
Okay. So we do get a check call, and then we get a 5 of hearts on the turn.
Oh,
Munez checks, and Flushy bets 2175 into 2900. If it's any thoughts?
Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts on turn, but on the flop, it was interesting that he holds like a bluffing type of hand, 8x of hearts, So if Asian Flushy 3-bets 9-8 suited and whatever, King-8 suited goes wide, because these are probably, is this with ante or this is no ante table?
No ante.
It's very different. No ante, okay. So maybe he doesn't go that wide, but it's no rake table, right?
Yeah.
Where ranges are very different as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, so suited hands will go up in 3-betting, I'm sure, because they pay no rake for this, and they can just go aggressive more in pre-flop. What I wanted to say is that Munez was holding a hand that blocks semi-bluffs and bluffs. in Asian Flush's range. And we have to think about the whole range of ace-x hands that Muniz has that play check call and hands that he plays check raise. So maybe Vladimir can mention some hands that are check raises, like merge check raises. Are there any merge check raises? Like how
Yeah,
you
I
play your.
suppose I would say 7-8 makes a great one, like 5-6 also. And then you need to use some a6. And I mean, again, like I was slightly wrong because actually ace-8 of hearts can be check raised sometimes, which is interesting because I would have said exactly what you said, like that having the 8 of hearts is not the great card to have because of course it gives you more equity when you have ace-8 of hearts. You have way more equity, but at the same time you're blocking eights and 8-9 and 7-8, all these hands that you want him to like call fold potentially on later streets. So I would have guessed that ace-8 still calls and you rather check raise ace jack, for instance.
Nice.
But actually, yeah, that was my first thought on the flop. But actually, we are slightly wrong.
Yes.
Ace-8 does mix in some some check raises alongside ace jack and ace queen and ace kind of about the same frequencies. It doesn't change much. So
nice.
So, yeah.
That's why I wanted to talk about flop, not turn, because if somebody uses 33% on flop or 40%, right, it's not a range bet spot. But if they are leaning to c bet, let's say 60% plus range in this spot, that means they're going to have a lot of hands with equity that we potentially want to get off by using check raising. So that's where
they have them all really. They should mix any hand class here. So
exactly. So even hands like kings and queens, that are like value bets in equity wise, but they are unblockers in terms of like, Muniz doesn't defend king 6 and king 7 or queen 6 and queen 7, but he might defend some ace queens or ace kings even here in cut position. So by the way, is this 100 BB effective pre-flop?
117.
117.
So even deeper. Yeah, the deeper you are, the more you need to add some of these, add some ace king in your range when you defend out of position. But basically what's happening is, ace 8, I agree. It could be mixing, but there is other hands, like you mentioned, merges with 6-5, with 7-8. There's going to be obvious draws like 5-4 that are check raising.
10-8, 9-8, 9.
Yeah, 10-8, 10-9, exactly. But exactly for this reason that we are doing these merges, we need to extend the ace-x region for value. Otherwise, we are just kept to a lot of weak hands that are check raising. So considering that, and now we discuss turn, Asian Flushy will be polarizing on the turn. And if he thinks that Muniz will play very aggressively on flop with value, that simply means that Muniz will be left with a lot of bluff catchers on the turn. Not strong value hands like sets, two pairs, and straights, because those, like I said, will be in check raising mode on the flop.
Yeah.
So on turn, Asian Flushy can be very creative. And if he thinks Muniz is, not doing correct frequencies with check call and check raise, he can now start pounding turns and rivers, because this is a great card to represent straights, to represent two pairs with ace-x, or even with 7-5 or 6-5, or even fives are definitely barreling on the flop, so he could have a set of fives. As you know, all the pocket pairs, button versus cutoff, are three betting one way or the other. So it's just
also
a great.
Sure that Flushy knows that it's very hard to defend on these boards when out of position here, facing a second barrel, and that most players tend to not be this is slightly under defending and slightly under check raising. I mean, I know that Muniz is a top player, but even though it's still very, very uncomfortable to face second barrels in these spots. So
yeah, especially with eights and nines. Imagine like check calling eights and nines. Now you kind of have to call depending if you hold a heart or not, because you still have a gut shot and you can charge your equity and whatnot. But then you have a lot of hands that you floated on the flop. Let's say maybe you floated like king, queen of hearts, king, jack of hearts, maybe, like all these ace-x of hearts are intuitive check calls and check raises on this turn. But the problem is all these pairs that floated the flop and all these bluff catcher hands. Now you have to start splitting and consider what Asian flush is doing. You will end up with a whole bunch of ace 10, ace jack, ace 9, ace 8, and once you reach river with these hands, you need to figure out the percentage of them calling or folding on the river. And what's the Asian flush's actual bluffing range on the river? Is Asian flush gonna bluff deuces, threes, and fours? Likely yes, because they have the weakest showdown value. Is he gonna bluff busted flush draws? Depending on the tendency of Muniz. If the flush doesn't complete, he can still three-barrel bluff hearts, considering that, like I said, Muniz is not gonna float a bunch of hearts, maybe king, queen, king, jack, or whatever, 10-9 of hearts, 9-8 of hearts, those are like natural ones. So depending on the blockers ace and flush he calls for flushes, he can decide to bluff certain hands. But yeah, this just looks like a very good spot for Asian flushy to triple barrel merge for value. And when I speak of merge, I'm talking like, ace queen plus, basically, depending on what was river. I don't know how the hand showed up on river, but this just feels like a spot that Nunes would, or any regular will have, like you said, very hard time to balance by calling strong hands.
Yeah, it's really tough. And if he has ace 8 of hearts, by the way, here it looks like a super nice check raise.
Yeah, he has to check raise or check call, depending on the pot to stack ratio. It's probably
Yeah,
going to be.
it looks like a very cool check raise here with ace 8 of hearts.
Do you think they did block bet on 4 to straight? Did he use a block bet? Or I think it's just all in one size, right? You go straight or sets or better, or two pairs, strong two pairs or better. You're going here. Because like I said, 9x is just a small portion of Muniz range here. So I think you have one size here, and yeah.
Yeah, but out of position can certainly have jams. Let's see.
He can have donks for sure.
Donks, yeah, don't jams. That's what I mean.
Absolutely. I
Eight of
think the 8 helps more flushy than Muniz, and yeah, Muniz is here in a very hard spot.
Yeah,
And
we actually the solver actually has a lot of donks on this river,
because
including ace 8 pure.
Yeah, that makes sense, because ace king, ace queen in flush's range is probably pure checking river, so you need to get value from top pair strong kickers.
Exactly, yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah,
nice bluff and nice bluff catch. I love it. I love it. This was fantastic. Very good hand choice, bro. Well done. I hope we did the justice by trying to figure out what's going on in their heads.
And it's funny because when you reach the river, so if you don't really think in depth of the range, you're like, oh, an 8 can have some showdown value, but what kind of showdown value do you have realistically here? Absolutely none, right? So
the problem is, like, if he gets there with 8-7, like, nice obviously ace 8 is an easy call in my opinion, because it blocks other two pairs, it blocks top set, whatever, it blocks ace 9 suited, so it's an easy call with ace 8. But if you were calling two streets, check calling with 8-7, which is like a somewhat natural calling hand, and then you end up on river, on a 4 straight river with weak two pairs that are countered by a bunch of other two pairs, I think you're in in theory, probably showing profitable call, because 8-7 blocks 9-8 in opponent's range. But in reality, it really depends how wide is Asian flushy bluffing here. I like Asian flushy's bluff here because it blocks 10-9. It blocks, but again, 10-9 of hearts is probably the hand that plays here.
The turn barrel is a bit out of lines, though. I think.
Yeah.
And so that's maybe why Muniz defaults to calling turn instead of raising, maybe because he feels like flushy is going to overdo it on the turn on this board. As we said, like it's very easy for people to overfold. So if flushy knows that, he's going to overbarrel, and apparently this looks to me like an overbarrel, honestly, because if you get jammed on or even just clicked, you're in a really bad spot with 10-8 here of diamonds. You cannot call it off if you get jammed on. So you're wasting your equity, and usually when you're in position like that, you try not to bet these hands too much because you don't want to bet fold.
Yes, I agree with you about everything. One thing I wanted to mention, Asian flush is well known high stakes heads up specialist.
Yeah, I know.
So when I see this kind of a barrel off, it comes down from him probably projecting that his opponents are playing like in a heads-up scenario, that they would float more on the flop and get on the turn with many more flush draws, and I'm just estimating what's probably
No,
going
but yeah, you're right. Absolutely. Yeah. But so he probably over barrels slightly here. If he takes this combo pure, for instance, or even just too often, and apparently Muniz, decided then to let it bluff instead of raising, which was the right decision in the end. But it's interesting. Yeah, very interesting. I would have. I would have be tempted to raise this ace-8 of hearts on the turn.
In the chat, Hajib said, "What's up, folks? Yo, EV, been a while, man. Nice to see you in the booth." And he added, "If we sure about out of position having to donk, we in position value less and bluff less normally."
Yes. So if you know lock in GTO Wizard, and you see, for example, the pure sim showing you that out of position should have a donking range, but then you say, okay, wait, in my games, in this high stakes game, I don't expect Muniz to donk optimally. He's going to be checking his whole range. As soon as you remove the donks, because Muniz will have a lot of value hands now that are supposed to donk, like this one ace-8, for example. It's supposed to donk, but Muniz checks it. So if he checks it, now you in position need to adapt by under bluffing and value betting properly. And this, by the way, the best way you can check this in a very simple scenario, guys, open under the gun, okay? Open under the gun, big blind defense, and you get a flop 5-4-3, okay? You will see GTO donking on 5-4-3 because big blind has way more 5x, 4x, 3x combos than under the gun, right? And it has way more straights than under the gun. So if in your games opponents are not donking or range checking on 5-4-3, your job in position is not to see bad GTO. You need to be significantly more passive. You need to basically sometimes even check your whole range on flop and play two-street poker. Because they have all these
just for the fun fact and going with what you're saying, if OP doesn't donk on this river, you are not allowed to value bet aces.
Yeah, that makes sense. I would agree with this because he has all these sets, two pair combos and straights that are slow playing instead of, Yeah, this is such a great spot. Such a great spot. And hi, brother Hajib. So nice to see you. He's a great bro. He's an amazing player. Look him up, guys. He's on Coin Poker Streets, owning NL50, NL100. And he was part of one of the CFP stables, actually two CFP different stables. His knowledge is insane. He is very, very good about understanding GTO and exploits. Such a great redliner guy. Do we have maybe some other hand?
Yeah, there's one. By the way, Floaty, if you need to go, don't feel like you have to stay.
No, I'm gonna need to. Yeah, I'm gonna go.
I sent you a friend request, brother. Very nice to meet you. And
great talk. Really nice meeting you. I hope we'll be able to talk more in the future. And Johan, once again, thanks. Thanks a lot. Have a great stream, guys. Have a nice evening. And I hope you'll break down some more very interesting plays like this one. Very interesting hands.
Thank you, sir. Welcome back anytime.
Take care, guys.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Have a great night. Ciao.
Okay, I did see a hand that looked interesting. I just have to find it real quick. And again,
I'll check the chat in the meantime.
Yeah, big shout outs to Floaty for joining.
Yeah, absolutely. Very good insights. Very, very good guy. Somebody wrote Guerrilla Poker. That's right. Yeah, I messaged Owen to ask him if the new CFP includes straddle and anti games. And I don't believe it does. Since I'm playing straddle anti games, I'm just like 99.9% of my time goes into that. 0.01% goes into regular 6 max. So
you're still in the same city, by the way, that you're from? How far away is it from Belgrade?
Yeah. From Belgrade, it's like 2 240 kilometers. I guess it's like 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Like there's trains that take this
There's
long.
trains, there's buses, there's whatever.
I'm kind of thinking about doing a Serbia trip just to visit some friends.
I know, bro. You're more than welcome to come. Let me just go back to one shift grinding, so we can go out in the afternoon or evening or play, your stuff. There is a couple of questions here that people are asking. Let's go with use zero. What straddle games are you playing? I'm playing on some Asian app. I don't even know the name of it because it's Asian letters. It means nothing if I don't speak Asian languages. So the limits that I play there go from NL100 all the way to, let me see, NL1K, NL2K, something like this. But my main games, what I've been winning like solidly, is NL100 and NL200. I'm trying to break through and play NL500 and NL1K on these games, but it's very different from regular games. It's crazy. Another question: what games are Ivitsili playing? QNIXXN. Yeah, straddle anti games on Asian apps, but I'm considering starting 28 to add some Club GG games because I heard there is some good clubs there that have loose aggressive and loose passive opponents that can raise my EV and win rate, and potentially even going to GG just to get a sample and study, like 1 hour study, 1 hour play outside of the Asian apps, because I will not grind 12 hours days or 13-hour days. I'll have at least 5-6 extra hours, so I want to use this to diversify my grind. And one of the options is, like I said, Club GG. The other one is either Coin Poker or GG to play Russian cash format. What CFP CVT live in? I started in, again, QNIXN. I started with sit and go CFP like, I don't know, 10, 12 years ago. And I was playing limits all the way to hundreds. If you remember on Game Network, I was playing sit and goes even there. And I had Supernova on Poker Stars and like a blog on Poker Strategy. Shout out to Poker Strategy. It had like over 500,000 reads, my blog. Making a Living with STT Sit and Goes is the name of my blog on Poker Strategy, where I documented my journey on Sit and Goes. I won some packages to play some tournaments and all this stuff, So basically, after this, I just played, what's the name of the games? The 3Max games. It's at the end of my tongue. Bro, you can remind me. What's the name of these crazy fast 15, 20 big blind games with the jackpots? Somebody write it in the chat real quick.
Spin or what?
Spin and Goes, yeah. After Sit and Goes, I moved to Spin and Goes. And I was playing all the way like $60 Spin and Goes on Stars. Then Stars exit my country, Serbia. And I was playing like on iPoker and some other sites. And after this, I networked with one of the cash game coaches, Weasel from Poker Strategy. I took some coachings from him in cash game. I read Juanda's Mathematics of No Limit Hold'em. Fantastic book. And at that time, Card Runners EV was like a thing, the coaching website. So I was consuming content from there. I fell in love with cash game. I realized how little I know about poker when I was switching from sit and goes to spins to cash game, because cash game has bigger or wider depth and you have many more nodes in pre-flop and post-flop in consideration to sit and goes and spins, where it's very easy to learn the pushing, shoving, calling ranges, some 3-bet here and there, but nothing, like in comparison to cash game. So it took me time to adjust. I then started, before COVID, I played Asian apps where I was playing this NL1K, NL400 plus I was playing on apps. And then COVID came, these app games ended, and I stopped doing this. I went to work on a cruise ship. I'm a professional musician. I graduated at Berklee College of Music, and I taught there in Boston. So I went to become a music director on the cruise ships. I was playing part of a show band orchestra and music director. I did this for 3 years. And then I said, okay, enough cruise ship work. I'm gonna stay in Serbia with my family, and I'm just gonna do poker again. So now I'm back in poker. I connected, networked with a lot of people, including Johan and Hajib and high stakes pros and mid stakes and low stakes and micro stakes people and everybody. And it's just fantastic to see the progress. I've made a lot of progress studying, using GTO Wizard, playing a lot of hands and figuring out what the opponents are doing. And yeah, I feel in the last year and a half, my game has changed so much. Like I'm way more aggressive. I recognize the spots where people underbluff, overbluff, or bluff enough. I know where I should apply pressure, where I should not. I know how to play now multi-way spots. Like a year and a half ago, my knowledge and today is very different. So this for me is enough. This makes me happy, and I can just keep going up with this knowledge.
Yeah.
And the money is from poker. That's all relative. Somebody was speaking that like NL25 is not enough to make living. It depends where you live. Like if you live in Serbia, $1,000 is enough for you to survive and have regular living expenses. If you live in USA, 5,000 is not gonna cover you. If you live in Brazil, Argentina, Thailand, 2,000-3,000 is enough. So even if you're NL25, NL50 Pro, you can make a very good living. And if you're hard working player and grind a ton, like if you play 200 plus hours a month and your hourly is whatever, $15-$20, you're still making 3-4K. So in poker, everything in the end comes to like, what's your hourly, how much money you're making, are you good enough to beat the games you're playing and all this stuff. And yeah, I'm happy that I learned new format. It was very bumpy, right? But now I'm cruising. So yeah.
Very nice to hear. I did spot a hand that looked interesting. So let's have a look. And
just before that, there was another question that I find extremely interesting. If we can tackle this one, it says at the great from YouTube 10, I think he should continue talk about rake stuff is bad, that he was trying some new stuff and was down 50 binds. Yeah, rake on GG is obviously very big because they are raking pre-flop. And the fact that you're playing a fast fold format, which has over 80% regulars and like less than 20% fish in these games. So when you have a bad ratio of regs versus recreationals, your win rate has to come from somewhere, right? So immediately you are playing a game with very small and narrow edges in a format that you're going to pay a lot of rake. You're probably going to pay like 10, 12 big blinds per 100 rake there. So first you need to beat the game for 10, 12 BB before you get any win rate from promos. But the beauty of the GG Russian cash games is exactly these promos. Some people who know how to optimize their grind, they get 5-6 big blinds in rakeback just from promos. Some people who don't know how to optimize, they get 2-3 big blinds. So the difference can be doubled depending on what time of day you play, what days you play, do you leaderboard chase, how often are you winning this bad blue beach jackpot as a loser, meaning getting like 50% of money, how much you're getting bad beach jackpot as participant, which is only 10% of the money.
Yeah.
So like all this stuff, if you're grinding full-time GG, in the end, you should have a positive win rate. I have two friends that are beating NL200 Russian cash before the promos. And for me, this is enough. If somebody is beating on million plus hands NL200 Russian cash with like 3, 4, 5 big blinds without any help of promos, that means that there is still a lot of edge to be gained in poker. And these people are not luckiest people in the world. They're just, putting a lot of time studying with solvers, understanding what population does, and they are just exploiting people in their games, which is where the money comes. It doesn't matter if the name of the player is reg or a fish or recreational, how you want to call them. They still are human beings. They still have leaks, So your job is to figure out what leaks your opponent has. If you can't figure out what they do wrong and how to exploit it, you're not going to make positive win rate. And just to finalize the answer, the 50 BB swings came exactly for this reason. I was testing small blind, doing with cold call strategy, mixing cold call and 3-bets, doing just 3-bets. I was squeezing wider ranges. I was 3-betting, 4-betting wider ranges. Post-flop multi-ways, I was trying to fold people off trips, to rep that I always have boats or straights or flushes. You know, I was trying literally anything you can think of. I was trying to figure out where the field does what, and then when I got the feel where they are overfolding, underfolding, pre-flop, post-flop, the game suddenly start to make sense. And I think everybody needs to go through this unless you have an access to a very good poker player, theoretically sound poker player that can pass you theory, and then they have access to MDA, mass data analysis, and then they can come and say, look, here in theory, this is how this pot is supposed to play out, but in reality, people here overfold these mid-pocket pairs on turn, and they end up on river with very different range, yada, yada, yada. Here on the river, you will have way less overfolds, so you need to underbluff this river, you know? Like, you need this kind of person in your life, or a CFP or a stable. Last CFP I was in was a cash game CFP. It lasted only a couple of months. We parted ways because there was a miscommunication in terms of something in the CFP that, in my opinion, was not communicated from beginning. So the cooperation that they had, I actually learned some very nice things in this CFP, but I didn't like this miscommunication part, you know. And yeah, if that didn't happen, if I don't exit the CFP, I wouldn't be playing straddle games today, beating 100, 200 limits in the new format, or being able to adapt to opponents and play higher games, you know. So everything in life, one door opens or one door closes, the other one opens, you know. It's like this.
Yeah.
You always try to look at the bright side.
Yeah.
Of life.
And HDP said, shout out to you, an amazing job in conducting stream, inviting amazing guests, being amazingly humble and helpful, also making complex analysis understandable. Can't thank you enough.
Yeah.
You know, and he added, I live in India, you can run a family on no limit 25, no limit 50. I agree with you. Well, first of all, thank you. I do feel like my job is not that difficult, to be honest. It's those guys, I think, joining the stream, really making it valuable, in my opinion. And we had a player in the mid-stakes championship from India, and I've been asking him regularly. I just messaged him again. I told him we have a guy in the chat who's there every day, and he's from India as well. So I really hope he can come on. Maybe it will inspire you to see one of your fellow countrymen being able to have played as high as, you know, no limit 500, maybe and above. Share his insights, since he joined us a couple times during the mid-stakes championship, just not yet in the high-stakes one here. And we had Smurfalot say, hi, Hal, good luck, have fun, and yeah, pretty much saying hello to me. That's one of the viewers from my stream, I believe. So hello, and thank you for joining us. Do you want to do the hands that I had ready?
Absolutely. Please go for it.
All right. Let's do it. Bring up the replayer. So in this hand, we are 133 big blinds deep. And Gary is in the big blind with ace queen of, I think it was diamonds. Okay, actually, okay, let me redouble check. Because that was like a few minutes ago. So, oh, sorry. Okay,
right?
It's clubs. Never mind. Okay, so clubs. So Biluzin opens small blind to 3 big blinds, and then Gary goes 10 big blinds. And we see a 4-bet to 21 big blinds. And the call, it's 9-9-3 flop. And Biluzin continues for quarter. Here against this sizing, with the diamond being on there, you know, you have the backdoor flush draw, 2 overs. Is this just always a pure call?
So he has 2 overs and a backdoor diamonds, or he has ace queen of diamonds, right?
Dude, I forgot again. Is it clubs or diamond? Clubs or diamond, one or the other.
Okay.
I think clubs.
Yeah, you're just calling because if you think about 4-bet range from your opponent, he is likely going to have way more overpairs than you. People are likely not going to slow play as many aces and kings, and you know, and the opponent out of position is going to have these hands. Also, if you think about like 4-betting range, what kind of 9x can 4-bet pre-flop small blind versus big blind? He can have some 9-8, he can have king 9, queen 9, jack 9, even 10-9 or ace 9 suited in his range. So does in position player defend all the 9x's? Not really, you know. You're not gonna 3-bet and defend to 4-bet, depending on the sizes and depth, of course. If he feels he has a post-flop edge, he's of course gonna defend everything from 10-9 or 9-8 all the way to ace-9. But yeah, I'm just telling you that
Jack-9 suited as well, I think, right?
Jack-9, yeah. When I say from 9-8, that implies 9-8, 10-9,
Okay.
Jack-9, Queen-9, King-9, Ace-9 suited, you know. So if he defends all that by calling, obviously both players are going to have equal amount of 9x, except that, you know, small blind might not 4-bet pocket 9s, but the in position player will definitely defend pocket 9s to 4-bet.
Yeah.
So in position player, in theory, should have more 9x. And that basically, when you're c-betting on dry boards like this, you have overpair advantage, but you might not have nuttiness advantage, like pocket 9s or pocket 3s. So here you have to be more cautious, and you're going to be floating a lot, playing call with a lot of your overcards, and you're obviously going to fit your 9x there, and pocket 3s, no need to raise. You want your opponent to double, triple barrel his overcards when you have a boat here. So it's just standard spot not to raise here, unless they have some really cool dynamic where in position player feels that out of position player would not defend enough facing raises. Then he can take all these hands that are indifferent between calling and raising, and he can put them in the raising mode. And that would basically be a lot of backdoor flush draws, backdoor straight draws. Think about hand like Jack 10 of diamonds, Jack 10 of clubs, Jack 10 of spades, you know, like this hand can float, but also it's a good raising candidate, or 8-7 of all these three suits, you know, because it has weaker showdown value, but it can turn on the turn. You can pick up equity for like open-enders and flush draw and all this stuff, you know. So yeah, this is just very, very interesting spot. I'm very curious with what they will end up with.
So yeah, we do get a call with the ace queen of clubs, and then the turn is a king of diamonds.
Nice. So I have a question for you. Who do you think has more king X here?
The 4-better, easily.
What king X's are 4-betting pre-flop? In your opinion, just randomly, like suited and offsuit ones, which ones you think he has?
I think it's mostly ace king, but in the 4-bet bluff, there could be king queen off and king jack off, I believe.
Yeah, in GTO for sure, these hands are mixing. King queen, of course, more than king jack. But what about other suited king X combos, like king 10, king 9, king 8, king 7, like low king X's that are opening blind versus blind?
I think those have more incentive to call, to be honest. And if there was any, then maybe it's like a low king, maybe like king 5 suited.
So more polarized 4-bet, using king 5 rather than king 10, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting, because if you look at the GTO sims, you will see that small blind has more incentive to 4-bet and ends up in 4-bet pot with hands that can actually flop good and play good post flop. You know, like I'm talking specifically with king X hands. So you would see more king 9, king 10, king jack type of hands that are doing all these like mixes between calling and 4-betting, rather than, of course, low king X's would rarely call and more 4-bet because they have poor playability post flop. You would rather play in a 4-bet pot with king 10 rather than king 6, right? Because you can flop straights, 2 pairs, open ended, that sort
of course.
So the point I'm making here is that in position player will have all these king 10s, king jacks, king queens, offsuit king queen. He will have the king 9, obviously, and even wider king X's that defend. King 8, king 7, king 6. Like, think about all the king X suited combos that in position player 3-bets. In theory, he's supposed to defend. All of them. All of them. So in position, he has way more king X than out of position. If we discount, like you said in the beginning, ace king and pocket kings. That's it. But king queen is there for both people, and king jack and all these others. So basically this hand is very interesting turn. What kind of sizing would you use to continue barreling? Would you depolarize, meaning use a smaller size and start to value bet queens and jacks still? Or would you prefer to polarize and go like 9x or strong king x or better, meaning like 3/4 sizing and such? I'm interested to.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think like I'm a pretty weak player, so I feel like if I probably would never bet big is my guess. And then
How big?
I think I want to say like third to half at the most.
Interesting. So
Because then it still looks like, I mean, on the river it will still be a SPR around 1, right? But I don't.
So you're betting small because you want to keep SPR constructed in a way that you can do 1-to-1 ratio on the river.
I think I'm betting small to simplify because I don't really know how to break down what should bet big or small. That's my simplification. And then I think both kind of look the same. And especially, right, if I do it with all my range that I will bet here, then Villain kind of has to recognize that.
That's very good points you made, because here, in theory, if you think about it, there is theory and exploit side in every hand that we analyze. What kind of hands, when you bet small, what do you benefit in opponent's range? In other words, would you rather bet big if opponent has queen jack suited, jack 10 suited, queen 10 suited, or would you rather bet small? Would you bet big or small if opponent has ace high flush draw here?
Well, you might think you want to bet big for protection, but then like if he starts folding those hands, then
now you get it. That's why the smaller sizing would make sense, because if opponent has all these draws, right, and you're in a polarized spot like 9x or better or strong king x or better, you basically fold a ton of bluff catchers in opponent's range or hands with equity. Now, I'm not saying one is better than the other. I'm just painting you a picture here. If you bet big, opponent is in position and he will likely still defend a lot of the hands I mentioned. Ace high flush draws, calling for sure. But queen jack, queen 10, jack 10, that are not flush draws, just gut shots, some of them will fold because they don't want to see diamond on the river. It counters their straights. If a queen jack or 10 of diamonds come, their straight might not be good because you might have a flush. So you're benefiting folding gut shots, right? Other hands that you're benefiting, right, is how about these pocket pairs that were 3-betting, defended pre-flop and called the flop? Think about hands like 10s and jacks, right?
Yeah.
Opponent, if you use a large size, now these hands become indifferent for many reasons. Like they can start folding more, but if you use a smaller size, now he needs to continue with that. So this is known as range manipulation, right? The smaller size you use, the more merges you use, opponent in position needs to defend wider. And you in turn can value bet thinner. You can value bet wider than king queen here, because you're expecting to get calls from jacks, tens, all the gut shots, all the flush draws, straight draws, whatever, And you might even get called here by whatever, pocket 8s, pocket 7s, if you use 1/3 sizing. So that's why I ask you what sizing you would use in turn, because this is extremely interesting hand, and I think a lot of players in reality always focus on like, okay, this is a polarized spot, I'm going to use a super large size and like whatever. I don't care what he has, what he calls me with. I have a 9x. And no, poker doesn't work like that. You have range versus range. If you are only polarizing here, the rest of the hands you are checking are going to be bunch of weakish bluff catcher hands that opponent, when you check the turn, he can just bomb the river and fold you off everything.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I'm more the school of thought that you need to use a smaller to medium size where you can fit all your flush draws, straight draws, mixing between check calling, check raising, and betting, right? And then for you to protect this range, you need to include 9x. You need to include kings in this. Kings obviously will want to check on this turn, to extract value from his steps. So it's a very interesting card. It's a card that adds a lot of action for both ranges, And these are, in my opinion, the most difficult spots is learning and studying small blind versus big blind, because the range is very wide. It's kind of like button versus cutoff. The range formations are very wide, but small blind versus big blind, this is the widest formation there is. So there is a lot of edge.
But still, it's 4 bets, right? It's not quite.
And it's 4
It's not quite a single race spot.
If you pull up a sim and check like I said, the small blinds 4 bets, it defends more to 3 bets has a very high frequency for betting range, small blind versus big blind.
Yeah.
Unlike other positions, So this is very, very interesting. And yeah, I'm just curious to see how small blind, what sizing he or she chose here.
Yeah, Hajeb asked, what hands am I okay with betting 3 streets for value here? I think it's pretty straightforward. Like it's any 9 king, aces, and like obviously right now we don't know the river, so I can't say. But like obviously, if I had like a flush draw here, I might take this line also with the flush draw where I bet the turn. And then on river, I probably wouldn't be sure, so I'd just like really be guessing. But yeah, we can see. Actually, in this case, then knowing that Gary has ace queen of clubs, where does he stand in this hand?
Forget about ace queen. Think about your range.
I don't know, but like it's not just about me. Like I want to break down his play here specifically too. Like he has ace queen of clubs here. What does this hand kind of become for him?
It's a bluff catcher versus weaker ace highs and gut shots and straight draws and under pairs that are whatever, like mid pairs that could be value betting. You see, he's using small size for exact reasons I mentioned. He wants to still keep in positions range wide, and he wants to value bet thinner here.
Yeah.
So this is just great poker theory stuff happening in this hand. And now what's interesting is that in position can start applying pressure on out of position by raising, and he can do it in a polar way with draws and 9x and whatever. But if he considers that out of position does this extremely wide, right? I'm talking like every pair that 4-bet does this, every flush draw does this, every gut shot, straight draw does this, then in position can exploit this by raising, because out of position will need to start folding a lot of these flush draws now, a lot of these straight draws, and he will be left, even with these pair bluff catchers, a lot of these pair bluff catchers, tens, jacks, queens, are blockers to the semi bluffs. Tens are blocking queen 10, jack 10. Jacks are blocking queen, jack, jack 10. Queens are blocking queen, jack, queen 10. So these are like very indifferent bluff catchers.
Yeah.
And they're very not cool hands. And this is when you think about out of position range, if he has all these hands, it's a great opportunity to put him in a tough spot by raising and putting ball back in his court and saying, okay, I know you got ace high flush draws here. I know you got gut shots and straight draws. I know you got queen jack stands. Let's see what you do with that part of the range facing my raise now. And that's where the real money is made. Finding those tough spots for somebody's range where they have to defend correctly, but in reality they might overfold or underfold. Yeah, this is interesting. Ace high, unless he blocks like whatever. I don't know if he had ace high of diamonds. If he didn't have diamond.
No. So yeah, Gary has ace queen of clubs.
Yeah, versus this small size never folding ace high. Obviously, he can beat weaker ace high. He can beat these busted other draws. Could be even 8-7 of diamond. Out of position does this with.
And so Biluzin bets he blocks for a quarter. What do you think is the bottom of this? Like, what's the whole range look like, and the bottom of that range here that will do this?
If you look at just the sizing, because it's block bet, he's going to have to include quads here because it blocks the top of the range for in position. But he's also saying, look, I don't have a king here often, but I also have hands like tens, jacks, and queens that I'm trying to get value from your ace highs. For example, if he has queens.
Why doesn't he have a king? Like a king would just always jam?
He will have, no. King cannot always jam because it runs into 9x. Like,
yeah,
that's why you're using a smaller size. You're block betting because you're including all these hands, right? But I'm saying he also has hands in between for value. You asked me for value range.
Yeah.
Tens, jacks, queens. Jacks and queens want to value bet more because they get value from jacks and tens this way. But also they beat random ace highs, ace high flush draws, or random ace queen that's blocking ace 9, queen 9, or ace king or queen queen. That's why ace queen never folds that river,
Yeah.
It beats all these random bluffs, like I said. Could be lower ace highs, could be 8-7 suited, could be jack 10 doing this blocking whatever, jacks and tens in opponent's bluff catching range or value range.
So what about this spot that's like micros or low stakes or mid stakes? From what table? Is it just really villain dependent? Like, let's say like you play against a competent reg, because we always hear about how people play way tighter there. So now we're seeing like the real skillful poker, but I wonder how applicable that is to viewers, because I feel like this almost can give us the wrong idea of like playing this spot like those guys did, and then you're just always gonna run into it pretty much.
So if I'm playing a good regular who aggressively knows how to 4-bet small blind versus big blind and knows how to depolarize on turns and rivers, I'm bluff catching like they're bluff catching here. You see, jacks, easy, value bet. And I'm just taking note, regular, good regular, knows how to, he's using Uri Perek's logic. Uri Perek has this great concept in his videos and schools where he says every hand has the size that it wants to go into, right? This is like poker 101 in Uri Perek's book. Jacks cannot go all in here because they run into 9x or king x. So they have to use a small size, So this guy on the turn was depolarizing because he's using a hand category that wants to still extract the value, which is jacks, tens, and queens, like I was saying, extended value, versus all these draws in opponent's range. And on the river, he's block betting because imposition's range is still wide and he still has to bluff catch versus all these other potential bluffs. Now, is ace queen ideal bluff catch? Probably yes. I'm not happy that you block whatever, queen, jack, queen 10, potentially in opponent's out of position range that might bluff here. But again, you're unblocking 8-7, 7-6 suited that might 4-bet preflop. You're unblocking ace-x of diamonds. You are blocking king, queen, and ace king in opponent's range for the value bet. So that makes this good bluff catch for in-position player, especially versus this sizing. But in reality on micros, when you see this, I'm expecting to see more busted draws than value. I don't think people are capable enough on low stakes to value bet turns and rivers with tens and jacks.
Yeah.
What I think they would do, and queens, I think they would bet on the flop, 10 jacks and queens. On the turn, check, and on the river, do the bet check bet line, But this, in a bet line, in three barrel, they're not going to have these thinner value bets. So if you remove thinner value bets, but opponent still has all these busted draws, that means that the ratio of bluffs to value increases, and they're gonna be ending to over bluff likely on this river. So yeah, it's very interesting spot, and like you said, if you run into tight reg who is incapable to bluff pre-flop and post-flop, like ace queen is losing money, you need to be calling here minimum with pocket queens and expect to run into jacks or something, But in reality, it's always going to be 9x and king x. So yeah, very cool spot, very good hand, bro. You got a great eye for a hand.
Thank you.
It's a fantastic hand.
Hajeb in the chat, by the way, I mean, you're giving me a compliment, but great job to you breaking this down perfectly. Hajeb asked, how thin can we go here for this sizing? I'm a bit lost. Ace, queen, tens?
So he's asking how thin can we go? How thin for value, he means? Like
yeah. So in Biluzin's spot, I'm guessing.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't think that you can, that ace queen is a value bet here, 3 streets. I don't think. But I think you can definitely use, for example, at least pocket jacks. Pocket tens probably are still okay because depending on how wide big blind 3 bets and defense to 4 bets, like if big blind has 8, 7, 6s, 5s, like lower pocket pairs, certain frequency, then obviously any pocket pair that you have between 9 and king x is a clear value bet for this sizing,
Yeah.
But then the bluffs, yeah, you need to, I would pick bluffing hands that are blocking 9x and king x. And I think this is a good example. Like ace queen might seem like it beats some hands in opponent's range, like weak ace x of diamonds or whatever. But again, it blocks the 9x and the, and king x. So it's out there to use it as a bluff. But I think that you have a lot better bluffs than ace queen here. Like you would rather block 9x than King X because you use the small sizing on the turn. So yeah, opponent still has all these bluff catchers. And versus these bluff catchers, yeah, on this river, you want to consider having two sizes. One block bet, or even three if you want to be super specific. Like a block bet sizing, where you're going to be adding 9x, you're going to be adding these 10 jacks and queens, and you're going to be adding some king x and some busted draws. But in the large size, like whatever, 3/4 or pot size, you will be having more these king x, 9x, and busted weak draws. And then in the overbet sizing, like really all-in overbet size, what you want to be having on this river is exclusively polarized range, like a 9x and super weak showdown hands. So let's say you had 8-7 of diamonds, or 8-7 of whatever, or something like that, 10-8 of diamonds, okay? That could be a potential candidate. It blocks 9-8 and 10-9. You have a 10 high, opponent in position beats you with any hand. You're blocking pocket 10s in his range by having 10-8. You're blocking pocket 8s. And then you can polarize by going all in with 9x and using some of these super low showdown value bluffs. But I like Biluzin was basically signaling his hand strength on turn and river. He was telling consistent story. Like, hey, I got a decent value hand and I'm just milking you for value, which is normal, you know. That's why I said on turn, if in position player raised, you remember I was mentioning that out of position player has 10 jacks and queens here. If you raise this, how are you playing turns and rivers? You know what I mean? Like you have a bluff catcher. Jacks on turn and river are bluff catcher because they lose to king x and 9. So this is the beauty of poker. You figure out the parts of ranges that opponent is trying to get through to you. You apply pressure to this, and opponent has to play for full stack with his bluff catchers.
Yeah.
Good luck. You know what I mean?
Jade Raidstone in the chat asked, what do you do with jacks if villain raises all in? He didn't mention which street, but yeah, it is a great question because it kind of feels like one of those boards where if somebody has a strong hand, they're not really supposed to raise, right? They should just be calling in position.
Yeah, so Hajib said if they raise all in, you're cooked. Yeah, in theory, it's probably going to mix and call and fold, because if you always bet jacks, tens, and queens here, and you start overfolding, somebody can raise you in position with any two cards. That's the beauty of like minimum defense frequency on river. It's like a toy game and pot odds and like how little or how much of your range you need to defend. The problem with jacks is, like I said, it's a bluffing hand that you want opponent to have. You want him to have queen, jack, jack 10. So with you holding jacks, you basically, now he has 50% less combos of bluffs just by you holding jacks as a bluff catcher. So whenever you find yourself in this spot, you need to think, like, what is the actual bluffing range of opponent? If he is bluffing ace-x of diamonds here, but never bluffs jack 10 and queen jack, then jacks are a call because jacks unblock his bluffs. But if opponent never bluffs ace highs, but always bluffs queen jack, jack 10, your jacks become worse call than if he bluffs with ace highs. So this is the kind of questions you need to be asking yourself on the river when you face those raises. And that's why I said turn raise, river jam, good luck to be losing with jacks. Let's see if he calls jacks, queens, tens, you know. This is the kind of stuff. And I would go to him, give him a hand if he makes this call down. And I would say, how did you know that I'm over bluffing here, you know? And I would pay $10,000 for him to give me this information. Because it's worth it, you know. It's a very tough call. People think this is a snap call. When I say people, I'm not saying everyone, but like you have this problem in poker where a lot of players, they hit a decent hand and they're not able to let it go. But if I'm telling you a story on turn and river that I got a 9x, you know what I mean? Like, what are you beating when I have a 9x? You're beating nothing. I'm saying I have value or I have bluffs. And if you hold a bluff catcher that's part of my bluffing range, you're in a very indifferent spot.
Yeah, Hajib says Gary could still have aces too, maybe. Yeah, that's true. Aces, slow play here, pre. You just call the 4-bet.
King X doesn't jam here. 9x raises the turn and jams the river. Yeah. I'm talking about raising turn in position and jamming river. Aces are worthless still. They beat King X, but they don't beat 9X. I'm not jamming King X here after I raise turn. I'm purely talking about like typical polarized spot. On the river, you're 9X or nothing. You're not merging with King here, jamming on raising turn King and jamming river King. No, you are polarizing and doing only 9. If you do that, every bluff catcher is indifferent. Including King X. If he sits there with ace king, king queen, king jack, king 10, they're indifferent to calling on this river. You need to be bluffing enough for somebody to call all these hands that got there on the river. That's why turn raise is such a cool exploit. You can do it with flush draws, straight draws, 9x, king x, and then on the river you can polarize and put opponent in such a crazy spot with his bluff catchers.
Yeah.
And that call with pocket jacks, queens, tens, king x on the river, if it's like 70 BB play, it could be a losing whatever 55 BB play. Imagine that. One hand costs you 55 big blinds call.
Sounds like another day at the office.
Yeah, that's the beauty of poker. That's where the money. You remember when we spoke to Owen in one of the live streams, and he mentioned that Bart, part of Grindcore, Bart, part of Uri Pelek's Guerrilla Poker CFP, when he joined it when he was playing NL 500 and he was like breaking even there, he said that Bart found in his hand history once every 1,000 hands, like insane hands that were minus 50, 70 big blind plays like this.
Yeah.
And as soon as he pointed this out in his database, he said, you're a great player, you do amazing stuff, but once every 1,000 hands or 100 hands, you do this. This costs you 5 big blinds win rate. Owen changed this one thing, and he went from break-even NL 500 to winning 5+ BBs. I remember this because this was super important for me to understand.
Actually, like maybe it's not in the same measure, but I would guess probably a lot of people have this. I also have like these random hands. Actually, I say this 2 days ago. I mega gambles. I joined the table and I joined the table. There was a recreational, and then I was like, oh, for fun, let's do it. And then maybe it's not comparable because it's just pure gamble, but like I straddled for 100 big blinds. Which in the moment I was like, wait, that's so stupid because he only had put so little. And then some guy, a reg, like some Russian guy in the small blind, he woke up with ace 3 off and he called me and I had like jack deuce suited and I spiked the jack on the flop and I was like, I will never straddle like this again. This is the stupidest thing I've ever done. And I won. Like this guy must feel terrible.
Yeah.
But if we remove our punts, it becomes interesting to talk about the win rates.
Yeah, it becomes engineering. It becomes like you're, designing machines or building robots. Poker has to have an element of skill and luck to make it work long term because everybody needs to feel like they have edge. You know what I mean? But this is one of those spots where you're printing money if you raise turn and jam river and put opponent in such a tough spot. Anytime the thresholds, when opponent is depolarized and you start raising, opponent has 2 decisions. Do they defend correctly theoretically on the turn? If they do, on the river, they have a lot of indifferent call downs. And good luck. Those plays are 0 EV plays. Because they're indifferent, they are 0 EV, right? You need to make them, and in the long term, you don't lose money with them. But if the opponent knows this, that you're going to defend enough on the turn, he or she will start under bluffing rivers. And now your indifferent calls are losing 50, 60, 70 big blinds. That's the beauty of poker. You need to figure out on which street opponent's wide range is shrinking enough. Is he overfolding turns on rivers? If he overfolds turns when you raise, let's say he folded on turns all the queens, jacks, tens, and flush draws, but ends up on the river with 9x and some king x, some. Now on the river, you're not making money bluffing because he's full of quads. He has very little king x, but he has a lot of 9x. But if he continues to your raises with flush draws, straight draws, jacks, tens, queens, now on the river he has a lot of folding range. So now you can bluff into him and, print money.
Yeah.
So poker is just fantastic, fantastic And this is the spots that Owen was, when I say this is the spot, the river bluffing and calling that was costing him 50, 60, 70 big blinds. This translated into 5+ big B win rate. Saulo Costa talked about this in his blog and videos, where when he was playing NL50 and 100 and 200, one of the things that changed his break-even stretch was understanding where is the overfold happening. Where are people under bluffing, where you have to fold all the bluff catchers, and where are they overcalling, where you have to like value bet like crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And this changed his break-even win rate to 3, 4, 5 big B win rate. This is poker. Just one spot like this every once in a while swings the win rate because the stacks go in.
Yeah, we can answer maybe one last comment here because the action ended on the table, so I think that's going to be it for now. But HDP asked, my dilemma is always if that works better than theory at low stakes, and how far can I go with this approach?
Yeah. So everything works on every stake, you know? Everything. Like if you play NL2 or NL 20,000, theory is theory. The concepts we are discussing, they apply to the player type and their range, how they play their range. It doesn't matter of the limit. We obviously assume that when people play high stakes, they're so good and amazing that they are balanced in every spot. But we actually, when we look at the people who do MDA, like Howard, the guy that I mentioned from Poker Detox, he mentioned that even on high stakes, people are not raising enough on the river. They are not balanced enough on turns in 3-bet pots or yada, 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 you know? So like on every stake, from micro to high stakes, real people are playing with real leaks. The best way to make money in poker is figure out the exploits versus their individual leaks. So the question that, what I'm thinking, HDP, is how you phrase this question for yourself and everybody better is the opponent that I'm playing, what is he doing here with his range that I can exploit? If he is depolarizing on the turn, is he going to overfold if I raise? If no, I don't need to bluff raise. I need to extend my value raising because he doesn't fold enough. If opponent calls a lot on turn, overfolds river, now I have planned for 2 streets. I'm going to raise a lot on the turn for the reason to overbluff river. And I'm going to print my money on river. It goes same on preflop. Imagine you have a person preflop only calling aces and folding everything. What are you going to do? You're going to open any 2 cards, right? You'll just open 3 deuce off anytime, like you close your eyes and click, because opponent doesn't defend correctly. But if you have a calling station, loose passive player who calls everything, now your opening range can stretch, can be wider than GTO, but your edge versus this loose passive player needs to come owning him or her post flop, value betting correctly, using right sizes, milking. When you have these weakish value hands, you know, you still need to get a couple of big blinds in the long run from these plays. Because poker is not just this polarized pot, you know, where you have a 9 or you don't. Poker is, you have a jack 10 and a turn and river comes king and ace. Do you value bet jack that was on the flop? If it's a broken line, yes. What sizing? Small. Okay, move on. Next hand. You know?
HDP says on high stakes pools are smaller, so I have to kind of make pool wise assessment as I tend to play way bigger pools. I mean, I mean, depending on like what site it is, and like if you have a HUD, that's kind of like your first idea of how somebody might be playing. And also sometimes country can be a tell, like stack size, how many tables there, like any info that you can get. And I would definitely recommend, again, I'm not a great player, but I do feel like tagging everybody at the table. Like sometimes in the pool that I play, which is fast tables, and you know, has like 150, sometimes like 200 entrants, I tag literally everyone. If I send you any of my hand history, everybody has a caller at the table. And then sometimes I've talked with a friend and he sends me a hand and literally 0 people are tagged at the table. I'm like, how is that possible? You know, like it just looks like there is a glitch somewhere in there. Like, how do you know who's who?
That's great.
Very important. Yeah, very important, I would say.
Yeah, one thing about the pools being smaller, I mentioned this when I joined earlier tonight. I'm playing straddle and anti games. I have no access to hand history. For me to see throwdowns, I have to pay actual dollars, you know, into this. So when you don't have access to HUD to hand histories, and you have to rely on taking notes and reads. And Uri Pelek did a great video, I believe, for Upswing Poker with, I think, Mike Brady. Yeah, Mike Brady, the guy who does a lot of videos for Upswing Poker as a moderator about strategy. And Uri Pelek did one exclusive webinar or video where he talked about breaking down hands, but he was talking what kind of note you should take for this opponent after you see his or her showdown here. And then he went on to explain that if you get a couple of like notes, you already can predict and put player into a specific category. So I'll give you an example. For me, it's enough to see once a player bluffing with an underpair on an ace-high texture that I know that they are capable bluffers. I see somebody turning deuces into a bluff, 3 streets. It's like an ace-high runout, whatever. And I know they are thinking player. They have enough bluffs in them. If they're bluffing deuces, they have all these busted draws. They have blah, blah, blah. But if I see opponents showing up with obvious bluffs always, and not those blocker bluffs, like with ace high, king high, whatever, non-showdown value hands or turning pairs into bluff, these players are under bluffing. Versus them, I'm over folding. Period. It's like poker on the river, you get 2 decisions. They are either bluffing enough frequency or higher than enough frequency where you press calls. But if they are not finding enough bluffs, you're just losing money making any bluff catching call. And this is very hard for many people. That's why poker win rates swing a lot, Let's read the rest. I was referring to coin pool. Okay. Anyways, amazing string. I do tag people in hot. Yeah, coin pool, it depends. I played coin pool, and you will have on a 7 max, you will have a recreational player that's donating you money, jamming like whatever, Jack 3 suited pre-flop. But you will also have very aggressive, decent regs. So yeah, you need to prepare your game for both player types. And you would have a lot of loose passive players everywhere, because playing GTO strategy and being aggressive enough is very difficult. You are not just aggressive pre-flop with raising ranges, 3-bet, 4-bet squeeze ranges. You're aggressive post-flop in all different nodes, in all broken lines. That's why aggressive poker wins in the long run, right? If you know where to apply aggression, that's where your big blind win rate is coming. And especially with now addition to GTO Wizards multi-way solving for the last month or so, you can imagine how many new edges are coming out just playing multi-way pots. You're probably missing a lot of edges there. Not you, I'm speaking in general. Every poker player is understudied in multi-way spots. So, but my tagging setup is still work in progress. Yeah, I don't follow Uri type node building as he taught it in Cash Game Exploits. Yeah, Cash Game Exploits is an amazing course. And I believe if you watch the pre-flop, which you said you started it, so amazing. He has a pre-flop part where he talks about different 3-bet ranges and defending out of position and in position versus them, and how to defend versus linear, how to defend versus polarized, how big blind can pretty much 3-bet you any 2 cards if small blind doesn't 4-bet enough, etc., etc. He just gives too much useful information worth big blinds and big blinds. And that course is years old and it's still relevant today, So to be honest, I tend to be very overly aggressive and a punting and need to tone down again. Yeah, this is my problem always, because you see something that can work in theory, it's indifferent, and you start saying to yourself, wait, if this is whatever 25-30% frequency bluff on the river here, I believe opponents are always overfolding this run out, so yeah, I'm going to bluff everything. And of course, you run out into slow plays, you run out into a whole bunch of stuff doing this. Johan is back and he's showing us results.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
No, this was great, man. I think we're going to wrap up for now because there's no more action. And I'm going to take this opportunity to go to the gym since the games are not going currently. I saw a couple of comments asking when the VIP game is. It's in 18 minutes, supposedly, I think. I think it's 6 p.m., but it's UTC UK time, so that's in 18 minutes, and they have the 7 Deuce game on.
Nice.
And I believe that the player that's playing, that's not a player from the challenge, is Frankie C, one of the, which is affiliated with Coin.
Yeah, I know what book is, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna stream. I think I might have, like, if there was other games going, but there is another stream that's happening, but that one is on Coin's channel with, I think, Gazi B commentating and somebody else with him.
Nice.
So
best of luck to them. Johan, I want to take opportunity to thank you for inviting me and us having a chat, and everybody in the chat for being here and being active and asking questions and enjoying our conversation. And so nice to see some friends. Hajib, awesome to see you, brother. And thank you, HDP, for great questions, and everybody else. I'm sorry if I missed somebody's question. And Johan, I hope we can do this, bro, next Sunday. Although from next Thursday, I'm going to regular grind schedule, so we can maybe do Friday, Saturday.
Yeah, anytime. Anytime you want. You're always welcome back, bro. I'll buy you some food when I go to Serbia.
No, please. First, I need to come and see you in your location. Send me your location. I'm coming to see you there because we need to. Yeah. Thanks to you so much for answering. Anytime. Hope to see you guys around by the end of following week.
And actually, if you have any shout out, or like some people seemed interested in the anti-game. So if you do coaching and you want to give your contact or whatever, then go ahead.
I guess, can you post my, because I'm on Macintosh.
I can, yeah. I will.
You can maybe post my
Discord? Yeah.
Discord ID or something. I'm not sure if you want to discuss that. But yeah.
It's in the chat.
And Straddle Games. Yeah. Hopefully you can find me, guys, there. I don't know if there is many Ivica Ilievs, but it's a football player with arms spread in Partizan Belgrade jersey, black and white jersey. So yeah, hopefully you can find me there. I just wanted to give shout out to these amazing players that are in these lineups, and great to see C Lama doing so great at the beginning, and Kevin Pake making his stamp again, and Asian Flashy being there, and seeing Balkan guys like Deki Kaludjerovic and Yasam Gale in the mix. And I'm sad to see Owen and Barak and LLinus down and riggedeck, but it's only halfway through, so hopefully by the end of competition we will see them contesting for at least top 3 spots.
Yeah.
But again, I'm rooting for Owen to win. I would not be sad if Barak or C Lama or some Balkan guys won it, because they're Balkan guys. I'm supporting Balkan crew, so that's great. And thank you, Johan, million times. Thank you for inviting me and making this always fun and interesting stream.
Thank you, sir. Good day, and see you later.
See you later. Thank you.
Bye-bye. All right, guys. Thank you. Yeah, that's it for now. I don't know. I feel like I keep saying, like, I'll go back in the evening, and then it hasn't happened yet. I think it's mostly due to the action. I do feel like today there is a pretty good chance tables will start again later tonight. So it really depends on that. If there is action, I'm always willing to come back live. So I'll monitor the tables and then see. And about the VIP game, I see that Hajib asked if we know the lineup. So let me have a quick look. So the qualified players for the second week's VIP game are Luca Brat, aka Christwin, for most losses. JuanRoman for running the worst. Wait, did he really run that bad? Okay, that's he does know that he's not that much under EV. Maybe I missed some. Maybe at some point he was, like yesterday or so. I don't know. I would have expected somebody else. Or maybe, no, it's week to week. That's right. So maybe on that week, maybe he was running good and then he ran really bad. Since it's a week to week basis. Riggedeck for most hands played. I actually think that's not even close for that. We have Kevin on 18K, JSM on 16, and Rigged is on 40. So yeah, probably not too close. We have Lama for streaming plus recording content. And then Frankie C, the player as well from Coin. And then there is a player that will qualify from winning the coolest hands that's voted on social media as well. So yeah, Make sure to give a follow to CoinPoker and PokerStrategy on all their socials, PokerStrategy.com/news for any news related to the championship. You can find the leaderboards there as well and the VODs. And if you guys want to follow me, Johan Merlo on Twitter and Instagram, Todd, TOD on Twitch. I do stream some poker here and there as well. Much love, guys, and I'll see you later. Peace.